Mic check. Mic and check. Good morning. Happy hump day, everybody. It's the best day to hump. It's always the best day to hump, but specifically on Wednesday, it is the best day to hump. And this is going to feel like a getting over the hump show today. Sorry for the late start. I did not sleep. If any of you have ever dealt with insomnia before, it fucking sucks and it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know if everybody has the same issues as me. When you have ADHD, then you can't turn your mind off and you just wind up staring at the clock all night. So we didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I had to get my daughter off to school, so late start this morning, and I was operating at about 60%. So good morning, Jen.
Good morning. Well, maybe if you,
Look at you all pleasant.
Maybe if it was a Wednesday, maybe humping would have helped you sleep.
Fuck, it's Tuesday.
It's not Tuesday.
Thursday? Wednesday? What's today?
It's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday? Oh, yeah. Yesterday was Tuesday. Jesus Christ. Okay, I did get it right. Never mind.
All day. It's
I told you
Wednesday,
guys, I didn't sleep last night. I told you. And there's no plans to hump either, so it's gonna be a long day.
Maybe a little self-care. I mean, that's an idea.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
You're welcome. I'm always here to help. I've had issues sleeping for a long time, so I actually have to take. I practically have to be blow darted to sleep. So,
I've never had that problem. I've always just like I hit the pillow and then I'm asleep. It's a thing in the last like 6 months that just doesn't matter what I do. You can't. I thought I could smoke myself into like a fugue state. No, not that. Maybe a coma. I could kick in a coma there. Nothing.
I don't know. It's not really my jam. But I mean, my doctor gives me men's dosage of Ambien to sleep. So I take so much medicine to sleep because my mind wakes up.
How do you wake up? Are you just a mess when you wake up?
No, I'm fine. I just I finally figured out a rhythm where like I'll take it at a certain time because there was a period of time where like I wouldn't go lay down like that after I took the medicine. And so then I would start doing things like clean my house and other stuff, which is interesting. But now I take the med and I lay down so I'm not walking around places and I get a good amount of sleep. So it works out. But
a lot of good suggestions here. A lot of people are suggesting carpets and self-care. Those who are saying magnesium, I do take magnesium. It's fine. I actually can get to sleep all right, and then I just wake up at like 1:30, just wide awake with my mind racing. I don't know what's going on. I keep going to perimenopause. That could be it. Hot flashes, yeah. Sometimes some hot flashes. Not lately, but I've had that.
Good to see we've got someone already pissed off.
Who's already mad?
Ryan, he's shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. You're here, Ryan. You could be anywhere else.
That's kind of funny, honestly. It's kind of a funny thing to say while you're watching a live stream. Everybody just be quiet. Sit there quietly, please. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Just be quiet, but I'm going to stay here and watch the stream. So that's funny. Well, I mean, we can get going with the show.
He's a doctor too. He takes Adderall and wonders why he can't sleep. Yeah, dude, I don't know if you know this about Adderall. It wears off. Yeah. I take my Adderall at 5 a.m. So I think when I go to bed at 9, it's worn off by then. And I've taken Adderall for years. It doesn't affect your sleep unless you take it too close. In fact, a lot of times it helps you sleep. As long as you take like the supplements after. Like I take 5-HTP. I have them here, right here. CDP, choline, 5-HTP. L-tyrosine. I take that. I have the ADHD crash.
Ryan's probably not gonna last long in the chat today.
What's going on, Ryan? Let's all talk to Ryan for a second. Ryan, what's going on with your day today? What's got you so worked up today? What's got you coming in here all fired up? Everybody, let's pay attention to Ryan.
Maybe Ryan hasn't been humped on hump day, so that could be maybe not.
I don't know. I just feel like sometimes people have a bad day and they lash out. And, I
Hmm.
didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I understand you can have a bad day. Ryan, oh, you took Adderall. Okay. Adderall
He
makes you
took it
mean, dude.
before. He took it before, so he.
Well, get your supplements together, Ryan, and then the crash won't be so bad. But thanks for
Exactly.
being here, bud.
Yep. Well, or I guess we'll get going. No TikTok today. We're banned on TikTok till the 13th at 11 something. So,
Stupid.
CNO is looking into it for us. We may get on, get that back sooner. Who knows? Well, but right now it's just here. So if you guys, I don't know. I don't think there's an option to like the stream on Twitch. I don't think that's the thing that you can do. But on YouTube, if you go to like the stream, that'd be awesome. We're also with less people watching, we want to make sure we can hit the gift goal. So as you guys know, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking out that gift goal. This is our job. We do this each day, Monday through Friday, from now 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. So how we keep the lights on, how we can keep doing this each day. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. So you don't have to use your own money. You can use Bezos's. On YouTube, we've got a variety of different memberships. You can join us for members only event if you're a paid member or subscriber wherever you're watching. Check out the link tree in the bio. We got most social media platform. On most platforms, we got merch, Jay's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. Did you hear about the elephant car?
The elephant? I did not. Tell me about it.
It's got a trunk and everything.
Stupid. So Sophia says, feel you. I ended up in bed at 1 a.m., woke up at 5 a.m., starting a dollar train. Thank you very much. You've been very generous this week. Asta Sophia, definitely the MVP of helping fund this venture this week. So appreciate that. And like Jen said, just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. We rely on you guys to help us pay our bills, and you've all been amazing at that. Yesterday we hit 18 million views, almost all of that coming in the last 8 or 9 months. I think less than a million were before that. So I want to thank you guys so much for your support, for sharing the streams out. And that's on YouTube. I don't know where we're at on TikTok or Twitch. They don't send me notifications on that. But I think we were a year ago, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers. I think we're going to hit 27,000 here this week, probably, and 18 million views. So can't thank you guys enough for the support. And it's been really cool to watch steady growth of this show. We have not had any viral moments. We haven't had anything that blew up. And so it's been really cool. Let's make it a hype train Wednesday. What is a hype train? I don't even know what that is. Jen, do you know what the hype train is? How does that work? Thanks, Kirsten. Or chat, you can tell me.
I think it's Twitch chat would be able to explain it better. I'm not 100% positive on what a hype. I mean, whether it's a lot of subs or cheers or gifts.
Subs and bits, I'm seeing trigger a hype train. Cool. All right, let's get started. I just wanted to know, I was just scrolling through Twitter and I came across Republican Representative Jack Kimball. And my only question is, just with oil prices where they are, can we afford this level of gaslighting? Said, when you're tempted to blame Trump's war for the cost of gas, remember this is still the Biden economy. That's what Republicans are resorting to now. We know that the gas prices skyrocketed overnight when we bombed Iran, but please remember that this is still Joe Biden's fault. It's getting a little pathetic. Kelly, be quiet. Quiet. All right. Here's a cool news story out of Washington Post. Pentagon has barred press photographers. The Defense Department has barred press photographers from briefings on the ongoing U.S.-Israeli military conflict with Iran after they published photos of Defense Secretary Pete. Oh, it's just an article, but yeah, we'll do that. Good idea. Show your screen. Shut up. I told you guys I didn't sleep well. I'll start. The Defense Department has barred press photographers from briefings on the ongoing U.S.-Israeli military conflict with Iran after they published photos of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that his staff deemed unflattering. Now, where am I? What the fuck? Where am I? Just did this yesterday, actually, too. I know how to fix this one. This is good news, guys. This one I know how to fix. I just have to delete it and then bring it back. Is it weird? Yes. Delete. Somebody's gonna have to explain how this one is a problem. Oh, great. Now I'll take up the whole thing. Now we got to resize the goddamn thing. That's the wrong window. Great. Hey guys, it's me. Boy. There we go. This is a fun way to exist currently. And there we are down in the corner. And now I'm going to edit up these sides for a second. I hope you guys are enjoying this. And if anybody knows how to use internet and Streamlabs, if you ever want to explain to me why this happens all the time, that would be awesome to figure this out. Let's go from the right. We need almost there. Whoops. It's close. There we go. Yeah, flip me around a little bit. Put me in the corner. And almost got it. Come on. There we go. Boom. We're back. Made it. Anyways, they have barred photographers because there are unflattering photos, according to two people familiar with the decision who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The March 2 briefing came days after a joint military strike on Iran that killed Ayatollah Khamenei on February 28th. Several outlets, including the AP, Reuters, and Getty Images, sent photographers to the briefing from Hegseth and General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But after they published the photos, which have broad reach because they are licensed by publications globally, members of Hegseth's staff told colleagues that they did not like the way the secretary looked. Hegseth's aides decided to shut out photographers from two subsequent briefings at the Pentagon on March 4th and March 10th. In a statement, Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson wrote, "In order to use space in the Pentagon briefing room effectively, we're allowing one representative per news outlet if uncredentialed, excluding pool. Photographs from the briefings are immediately released online for the public and press to use." So now they're just going to censor what Pete Hegseth looks like. They're very afraid of you seeing Pete Hegseth in an unflattering light. That's so cool. He's so tough, guys. He's such an alpha. Streamlabs updates things all the time, breaks everything. Yeah, Streamlabs is awesome, and we love them very much. Bear, thanks for joining the $2 train there. Appreciate that. In other news, Bridget, thank you. Said missed the last $2 trains. Appreciate you. Damn it. I thought I had a different link for this because I hate using TikTok, but we'll use TikTok anyways. This just made my day. Sorry for whoever sent this to me. I don't remember who it was. Or who sent it first. I meant to write it down and I forgot. But this is the DOGE Bro. This is Justin Fox. He was part of the DOGE team that Elon Musk had, and one of his roles was to go through programs and flag things that didn't align with Trump's DEI requirements. And as you can see here, he has, just like everybody, all the Republicans we had in the chat yesterday, they have no fucking clue what DEI is. And they can't say what they think it is because what they think it is racist and they don't want to say it. So they just pretend it means something else. But this is pretty cool. This is one of the people that was in charge of flagging programs and canceling programs that had DEI in them. No sound there. Go. Got that over.
How do you interpret DEI? There was the EO explicitly laid out. The details, I don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's okay. I'm asking for your understanding of it.
Yeah, my understanding was exactly what was written in the EO.
So can you...
I don't remember what was in the EO.
So right now, do you have an understanding of what DEI is?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your understanding as you sit here today in this deposition?
Well, it was exactly what was written in the EO.
Or this is Today I was scrolling through and I saw Fax was live and he had on that what's that dipshit's name that was on Fax this morning? RC Cola. And RC like asked him what the difference between socialism and democratic socialism was. In fact, like, I just want to make sure you understand what socialism was. And then RC just wouldn't answer the question. It reminded me of this. This is the nemesis to all Republicans is asking them a question about what the words they're afraid of mean.
And so anytime that we would look at a grant through the lens of complying with an executive order, we would just refer back to the EO and assess if this grant had relation to it.
Okay, but I guess I'm stepping back from your methodology strictly in terminating the grants. Do you have an understanding, as you sit here today, of what DEI means?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your understanding of what it means?
Well, it is exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay, so why is...
How do you not know, dude? How could you possibly not know? This guy's for sure not a white nationalist, by the way.
It's a documentary about Holocaust survivors.
This is my favorite part. They flagged a documentary about Holocaust survivors, and this is how they deemed it DEI.
Objection.
It's the gender-based story that's inherently discriminatory to focus on this specific group.
It's inherently discriminatory to focus on what specific group?
The gender-based, so females.
So if you tell stories about women from the Holocaust, that is DEI. This is just like the way they went about this is pretty clear now, right? If the story doesn't include white men, you cannot tell the story. If the story only includes white men, that's okay. They didn't cancel a single program or a single curriculum or a single policy that focused exclusively on white men. But if it focused on anybody else, that was DEI.
During the Holocaust.
And you believe that that's inherently discriminatory?
I'm just saying that's what it's focused on.
Sure.
But this is related to DEI.
Right. But you just used the term inherently discriminatory. What did you mean by that?
Now, this deposition is given by, I can't remember the name of the group, but they are currently suing the government for discrimination. And I think based on this deposition, they may win. Wasn't he on Dateline? I don't know. I think I saw him with Chris, what was it? Chris, what was that guy's name? Harrison? Is it Chris Harrison?
It's focusing
Hansen.
on
Thank you.
DEI principles, gender being one of them.
So a documentary that's about women would be DEI.
Objection.
Is that fair to say?
No.
Okay. So tell me why what I just said isn't DEI, but what you just said is DEI.
Objection.
Objection. What's the objection there? OCD said, got my DOGE check, figured I would share. Yeah.
It's a Jewish, specifically focused on Jewish cultures, and
from the Holocaust.
amplifying
specifically focusing on Jewish people from the Holocaust. Jewish women from the Holocaust. Yeah, that seems like an okay thing to focus on when showing a documentary.
Marginalized voices of the females in that culture. It's inherently related to DEI for those reasons.
How do you...
Good Lord. That's a good point, Cookie Nips. It's a great example of what we're up against. Sheer stupidity with unlimited confidence. I think that's like the frustrating part every single day in dealing with MAGA. It's just how confidently dumb many of their opinions are. Midwest said, RSO will fix your sleep trust. What's RSO? What is that? Rick Simpson oil. It's a highly concentrated full spectrum cannabis extract rich in THC, CBD, and sedation. I didn't know. All right, I'll check it out. Who's Rick Simpson? How'd he get his own oil? Who's that guy? What did he do? Who is Rick Simpson? We're about to find out. Just took a journey somewhere in the early 2000s. Started experiment. Am I gonna get in trouble with this? Experimenting with cannabinoids. I'll just say the words wrong. Initially, the quality available for young men to acquire in the Ozarks circa 2004 was substantially inferior. For Rick, the story really starts in 97. He was working as an engineer in a hospital when the room he was in began to fill with toxic fumes. Unfortunately, at that moment, he was dangerously high up on a ladder. Which, like, was he high on the ladder or he was high up on the ladder? To clarify, he was up in, oh, there we go. He was up in the air, not really stoned on a ladder. The fumes caused him to faint and fall, causing a serious brain injury and permanent tinnitus. Like most people in Western countries, his treatment consisted of prescription pills, which left him foggy and disabled. After doing some research into alternative treatments, he decided to start growing and smoking. Not only did it help, it completely relieved all of his symptoms and allowed him to live his life happy again. All right. This was news not received well by the doctors who treated him. However, after a short time, he was no longer being seen by any of his doctors. He was just at home enjoying some potato chips. 2003, back in the doctor's office after discovering a few discolored spots on his skin, which turned out to be skin cancer. He went through conventional treatment to remove one spot. Upon observing the cancer and the effects of the treatment, he was not satisfied and once again resorted to using cannabis oil. He applied RSO to his remaining spots as well as the damage caused by the initial removal, all of which we're going to get. Oh, good. We're not on TikTok. We won't get taken away from this, or we won't get taken down for this. This is where the story begins for all of us because the doctors, hospitals, and medical institutions really didn't like this information. Okay. Gotcha. That's pretty cool. Swallowing it is the hardest part. Yeah, it's heard it's a texture thing for a lot of people. That's what I've heard. Can you use it like other oils? Like you can do like a infused other options? I was squirreled. I did get squirreled. You're right. Sorry. Try lorazepam. I don't know what lorazepam is. I've heard people talk about it, but that sounds like something I don't want to try. All right. This is pretty cool. I hope none of you are planning on flying soon because people are quitting right and left. This is the second time now from
It
this
is now day
administration.
25 of the shutdown at the Homeland Security Department, which is causing major disruptions at airports across the country. Today was slightly less of a headache for travelers. More than 2,000 U.S. flights were delayed, according to flight tracking site FlightAware. On Saturday, that number was nearly 10,000. Democrats are demanding reforms to the department's immigration enforcement policies and have offered to fund all
Thank you, Christy. Ryan said, fuck that other Ryan. Tell him to get a grip. Ryan, if you're still here, get a grip.
immigration-related agencies, but Republicans.
Oh, shit. Axe said, sorry, I'm late. I was talking with my buddy inside Iran. I'll share what I can in Discord later. Let's have a great show. Thank you.
Republicans in the White House say the entire standoff just needs to end.
It is true that we are still far apart on the question of ICE. It is also true that there is no reason at all to hold TSA or the Coast Guard or FEMA hostage.
Call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering.
No, it's not, because people don't want to fund. Who? Oh, hey, get that screen grab. Did we just prove that we're in a simulation? Look at that screen grab right there. Get it. Yeah, there have been Democrats have actually proposed funding these programs, specifically TSA. They just don't want to give DHS unlimited money to give to ICE because they suck at budgeting, and they give it to their friends so they can spend $230 million on commercials of Kristi Noem playing dress up. So the people don't really want to give them money. So you could, Republicans who are going to, of course, blame Democrats here, they could just vote to fund TSA and then negotiate the rest of the stuff. But they're using their leverage to get DHS funded so that they can continue their attempt at alleviating this country of immigrants. And Democrats say no. So that's where we're at. And I'm fine with this. I think it's the right move by Democrats.
Let's bring in CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skangas. You have some new reporting on how the shutdown has affected airports. What are you learning?
Yeah, Lindsay, unscheduled absences among TSA officers have more than doubled nationwide since the beginning of this shutdown, according to exclusive data obtained by CBS News from TSA officials, with absences climbing in major hubs like New York,
Thanks,
Houston,
Ortiz.
and Atlanta. Now, these internal TSA statistics show the nationwide call-out rate. Unscheduled absences by frontline officers has climbed to an average of more than 6% during the shutdown, compared with roughly 2% before DHS funding lapsed. And absences peaked at nearly 9% nationwide on February 23rd. At some airports, the staffing shortages have been even more severe. For instance, at Houston's Hobby Airport, 53% of officers called out on March 8th, leaving more than half of the scheduled workforce absent. And across the shutdown, several major airports have averaged double-digit absence rates.
Hey, Sarah, can you stop saying that? It doesn't make any sense, and it's going to be viewed as a threat, and I don't want that in the chat, and you don't want that online. It's a weird thing you're saying.
JFK in New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh. The agency is also tracking operational hotspots, incidents where TSA officials say staffing shortages actually threaten security checkpoint operations. Houston.
Maybe you should accept the deal and fund them, and not the rest of DHS, perhaps. They don't care about workers. Our government doesn't give a shit about these workers. This should be an easy one.
Recorded 44, New Orleans 35, Atlanta 32 during the shutdown, and nationwide the highest single day total reached 87 hotspots just 2 days ago. Managers have had to consolidate checkpoints, reduce screening lanes, and contributing all of this.
Sell the boom boom plan. Papa Baggins says, I want to thank you for the recommendation to watch the movie 2073. I now have another reason to lose sleep at night. A terrifying reality if we don't shift course.
Contributing to longer security lines.
So TSA says more than 300 workers have left. They've said, I've had it. So could we see more disruptions? Does this have any end soon?
Yeah, Lindsay, internal data shows TSA has lost 305 employees.
I'm really looking forward to Sean Duffy and Mark Wayne Mullen coming out and telling the workers again this time that they're just not patriotic enough, that they need to show up and not get paid. It is their patriotic duty.
Just between February 14th and March 9th. Departures, officials warn, are going to take months, if not years, to replace. Like after recruitment happens, training a new TSA officer typically takes 4 to 6 months before they can work independently at a checkpoint. Behind the scenes, DHS officials are warning that the longer this shutdown lasts, the greater the risk that more TSA officers quit, worsening staff shortages, turning this short-term crisis into something long-term. And all of this really points to an uphill battle for recruiting and retaining workers for one of the federal government's most visible front lines.
What do you mean tell them it's because it's Biden? It is Biden. This is all Joe Biden's fault. Everybody knows this is Joe Biden's fault. He had open borders and he was a communist. This is Joe Biden's fault, clearly. Dustin said, rubbing out with RSO, sleep like a baby and well moisturized. Thank you.
Security jobs. Former TSA Administrator John Pistole told CBS News that after the 2018-2019 shutdown, TSA lost nearly 1,100 of its officers who resigned because they had to have income and they weren't being paid. And that's really the fear here, that the number.
I love how we have to talk about this like everybody watching is 3 years old. They're not getting paid, so they don't have to go to work, or they can't go to work, or they have to look for a different job. The Republicans are like, just be patriots and be broke. That's what most of our voters do. Hate, I feel for you, said, what's the return policy on commercials and a jet? I think no returns, unfortunately.
Pick up after workers start to miss more and more paychecks. Roughly 50,000 TSA frontline workers will miss their first full paycheck on Friday. And as you pointed out, there is no deal in sight on Capitol Hill. Lindsay?
All right. So, cool. Just more good stuff happening from this administration. This is such a clusterfuck. Do we have MAGA here today? This is such a clusterfuck. I want to hear, is there something that you think is going well? Is there a thing that's happening in this country that you feel is going well? Guys, don't worry. J-Sex is here to have the wrong opinion about everything today. Just always taking the side of the oppressor. Good, J-Sex. Keep licking that government's asshole. And some TSA get fined $5,000. I don't know if that happened. How do you expect them to pay their workers when all the money's going to important things like ice cream machines and lobster? Yeah, how could you? Everything is going pretty good. What's going pretty good, J-Sex? You had to pick the thing that's going the best in this country. What's going the best? Not for you personally, because nobody gives a fuck about you, but for the country as a whole. What's going really, really well? It's going to stay stock market or mass deportations. Go ahead, J-Sex. He can't hear whispers. Being broke and starving. Yeah, that's the most patriotic thing you can do. Just have no money and then don't eat. We'll wait for you, J-Sex. I got plenty of time today. We gave the best president in American history. Oh, have? Oh, yeah, that was dumb. Yeah, that's about right. I don't know what really is going well, but I know that I am masturbating feverishly to pictures of Donald Trump, and I've never done that with a president before, so I am thrilled. Is the stock market in a free fall today? That's true. I didn't even look at it. I have one stock, and I'm not going to say what my stock is because I don't want to. It's a bad stock. It's a long play, and I got to tell you, the long play is not going well. But I'm sticking with it. I've just decided to ride it out, and but it did go up today after a massive collapse. 300 points down. That was as of 23 minutes ago. That's good news. What does it look like over on Market Watch? I got some GME now. My stock is done so poorly that it's almost not publicly traded now. All right. Well, yeah, not great today. Shocker. We'll get to that in a minute anyways. We'll get to some of those sudden changes. I really liked this. This was in Tennessee. Probably my favorite account to follow on Twitter is the Tennessee Holler. And if any of you live in Tennessee, Jesus Christ, your state has some psychos in it. This is Jody Barrett. And Jody Barrett was putting up a bill that would create a death penalty for abortion. And this is how it went. Even in Tennessee, this is how it went.
House Bill 0570. Do I have a motion? Well, bill fails for lack of motion. House bill.
Not one person. Not one person. But this one is getting some traction. So, well, Tennessee, you dodged one bullet. You may not dodge this bullet. And good Lord, you Christian nationalists, just collectively shut the fuck up, please. Collectively, do church at church. Do it at home, anywhere, but on the floors of Congress. Please stop trying to force your religion down our throats. That would be great.
Recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this bill is about making sure that Tennessee students understand the ideas that gave birth to our nation. This legislation requires that at least once in middle school and once in high school, students are shown in a state-approved civics instructional video as part of their existing social studies instruction. The video must be historically accurate, free of political advocacy, and focus on explaining two things: the meaning of the
Remember, it's free from political advocacy here.
Of Independence, particularly the idea that our rights are endowed by our Creator, and the religious affiliation and moral beliefs of the Founding Fathers involved in the Articles of Confederation and the Constitutional Convention.
Would that include the polytheists? Would that include the atheists? That include the agnostics? I bet not. They want to teach your children the religion in Tennessee of the Founding Fathers. The real bill they're putting up. Once in middle school, once in high school. It would be an obligation. This is this is the same as Sharia law. The same idea, forcing your religion into law.
This matters because today many of our students graduate without a clear understanding of where the idea of where natural rights comes from.
Your head. It's made up. There's no such thing as natural rights coming from God because you can't prove God exists, so you can't prove that origin. It's kind of a weird thing. Is your stock beyond meat by any chance? It's not.
and why our founders believed government must be limited. These ideas did not appear out of nowhere. They came from a worldview that believed human rights exist before government ever does. Yet a common myth has taken hold that our founders were largely atheist or deist or purely secular thinkers. The historical...
So? But people can't think that if they don't want to? It's not being taught in school. It's not like the schools are teaching that the majority of our founding fathers were polytheist or atheist. People can think whatever they want. You're saying that we need to indoctrinate kids so they come out of high school believing in your religion?
Record shows otherwise.
I also am curious if your expectation and intention of this legislation will...
There's our guy, Justin Pearson, who we like. J-Sex hates him. We all know why.
...also be the paradox of America's foundation.
Representative
Mute J-Sex for 5 minutes. Shut the fuck up. I can't lie about God. He doesn't exist. If I say that there's no evidence that he exists, that's not a lie about God. We don't allow you to sit here and say things that are factual when they are not, J-Sex. That's 5 minutes for you. Next dumb thing you say will be 24 hours, but don't worry. You'll be back tomorrow.
No.
Thank you for the question.
Sorry, let me go back to the question there. I got distracted.
Representative Renaud.
Thank you.
Oops.
Shows otherwise.
I also am curious if your expectation and intention of this legislation will also be the paradox of America's foundation.
Representative Renaud.
Thank you for the question. As far as our founding fathers and those that owned slavery, it is important not to dilute history. We need to understand and know what that is so that we don't repeat those mistakes. But the Bible also says that we will be judged in the time of our culture. And at that time, it was a common practice. Not saying that's right or wrong. The Bible actually does instruct those who do own slaves on how to treat them and to treat them fairly.
Oh, the Bible's actually good. See, everybody was equal. Because if you're a slave, the Bible instructs that you're supposed to be nice to slaves, so equal. That was a real argument from Representative Michelle Renaud from Signal Mountain. In response, by the way, to a black man. Good Lord.
And kindly. But our founding fathers definitely believe that all men were created equal, and it was those beliefs that moved us from the position of slavery to where we are today. So this particular legislation does not advocate to teach those things. I think we have many other pieces.
Yeah, but maybe that's what moved some people to move away from slavery, but also those same people justified slavery just like you did. So you can't have slaves and then be like, but we stopped. Why are we still talking about this?
Of civic education that likely does include that, but this intention for this legislation is for that to not necessarily be included.
Representative Pearson.
It is nearly unconscionable to believe that you just articulated the theological vision of enslavers in this Capitol in the year 2026 as though it was okay. Because here's your problem. The Bible, which was written in many different iterations, but is articulating a time of thousands of years ago, was used as justification for enslavement that happened thousands of years later, 400 years ago in our country. And so even if you're trying to articulate, as you are incorrectly, that the Bible was somehow giving permission to slavery, that would have been in the era in which it was happening. It wouldn't be used as a theological justification just 400 years ago in our nation's history. But what is worse and what is deeply disturbing by what you have just said is not how you are saying, and that was wrong or immoral. There is no question that slavery was immoral. And you shouldn't need a Bible to know that. And there were always people who were antithetical to the antebellum South's iteration of chattel slavery. The people who were enslaved, who were kidnapped from the continent of Africa and brought here against their will. And I am a Christian, and I am a 7th-generation Tennessean. I have read the Bible from front to back. And And the stories about love, about who Christ is, about loving thy neighbor and loving God is what we are told to profess. So anyone who misused the Bible to enslave people, misused the Bible to keep people in bondage, they were wrong then as you are wrong now. I refuse to support this legislation because the lens by which you are viewing the world is toxic, is damning, is wrong, and is immoral. And you, my fellow colleagues, should do much more work in understanding the history of this country and understanding the history of enslavement and the consequences that it continues to wreak and the barriers it continues to create in this state and around the country. No one should ever be able to use Christianity as justification for the enslavement of people, especially not someone who has the audacity to call themselves a legislator.
Representative Renaud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That might be the first person ever that I didn't add my own commentary to. No notes there. Tanya says, happy hump day. Hope you get some rest. Thank you.
I didn't say that the Bible approved of it. It gave guidelines for it. And in that time, many people who actually sold themselves or...
Wait, hold on. Yeah, you did, though. Because what you said is that we were founded on the principle that all men are created equal. And then you cited the Bible saying that you needed to treat slaves kindly. You learned that in the Bible. So it's not the antithesis of America or of the Bible, like you said. Like the Bible was actually, it was in congruence with the Bible there. That's what you said. It's exactly what you said. You said, well, no, we were good slave owners. The Bible taught us to be good slave owners, not mean ones.
Gave themselves in order to pay their debts. So the type of slavery that likely occurred that the Bible was referencing was not the type of slavery that occurred that put people in bondage.
Then why'd you bring it up? If you're using that to talk about the phrase that all men are created equal, but those same men who use the phrase all men are created equal didn't believe women were created equal, certainly didn't believe slaves were created equal, then why'd you do that? The problem with a lot of these people like Michelle Renaud is that they say these things at church and everybody goes, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then they get in the real world and they're like, oh, fuck. That doesn't work outside of here? People aren't just going to nod and be like, that's a good point.
Here, it was absolutely wrong. But the Bible did give parameters in that Old Testament time on how they were to treat people fairly.
When they put pen to paper, they said all. They did not mean all. That's all. They did not mean all. So
yeah, like we know that. Everybody knows. I can't believe that in 2026 we're having this discussion. Like this Republican Party is just attempting to rewrite all of history. It's it doesn't make sense to try and tell our nation's history and leave out the bad parts of our nation's history. What is the point of teaching history if not to learn from history? Just to dick ride the founding fathers?
if we're going to do this historically accurately, let's do it.
LCD said, why don't Mormons have sex standing up? Because it might lead to dancing. Thank you. Misconception about Mormons. They are allowed to dance. I don't remember which religion that is. That might be Seventh-day Adventists or Jehovah's Witness that aren't allowed to dance. But Mormons are allowed to dance. We're just bad at it because we don't have a lot of rhythm, because most of our ancestors come from like the UK and Scandinavia. No disrespect to our Scandinavian friends there, but not known the UK and Scandinavia for their rhythm and dancing. As far as I know, I'm sure there's some great dancers in both of those countries, but yeah, we were allowed to dance. It just didn't look good. Okay. Well, good job, Tennessee. I found this thread. I don't know who this person is. It's Lisa Desjardins, some reporter. She was down with the GOP. Talked about yesterday about this tweet from Andy Ogles where he said Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism's a lie. So she asked a couple of people, and it's just alarming how hard it is for a lot of Republicans to say something is wrong or racist. Here's Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris. I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Ogles. He added that we have gone too far away from September 11th. We've forgotten radical Islam as a danger. That's not a good answer, bud. That's not a good answer at all. Is he said Muslims don't belong in American society, and you said radical Islam. It's not a good answer. House Whip Tom Emmer, what do you think of the comment, Muslims don't belong in American society? Emmer said, people who refuse to assimilate and follow a radical ideology that seeks to commit violence and terrorist acts have no business being in this country. Me, sure, I'm asking about Muslims, though, Emmer. Again, people who commit terrorist acts and are committed to a radical ideology who have come to this country and refuse to assimilate and rip off the generosity of American citizens, they don't belong here. Me, I don't want to conflate your words or misconstrue them. Are you saying that Muslims are that kind of person? Emmer, I think I made it clear. No, are you saying that Muslim Americans are violent, Emmer? I'm going to say anybody who fits this, anybody who comes to this country and hides behind a radical ideology, refusing to assimilate to American values and takes advantage of the American citizen, I filed a scam act. Do you think any Muslims belong in American society? Emmer, again, just yes. Yes is the right answer there. Again, people who come to this country and refuse to assimilate and are practicing me. But I'm asking about Muslims. My description doesn't fit your description. I'm talking about Muslims, Emmer. I think Muhammad Ali. I think we've got Ahmad Rashad. I think we've got plenty of examples of good people that have been in this country. I don't know. Does anybody want to enlighten him on how Muhammad Ali was treated, especially when he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali? We want to tell him about that. NRCC Chair Richard Hudson said, I didn't see that. Of course not. Rep. Carlos Jimenez said, that's inappropriate. Oh, finally, a tiny bit of a spine here. With every group, there's a good, there's a bad, and there's an ugly. And to say that generally like that, that's not right. And then Rep. Gary Palmer, I don't agree with that. I think people who want to assimilate and be American, if they want to abide by our laws, by American laws, I think that's fine. I don't support people who come here and try to change our laws to fit their culture. If that's what they wanted, they shouldn't have left their culture. I still don't know what our culture is, but lukewarm. How can you not condemn somebody who says Muslims don't belong in our country? That's just an easy one. Do you condemn this? Yeah, I condemn it. Just why is that so fucking hard? Yeah, that's what the Constitution talks about, assimilation. Exactly, John Clark. All men are created equal unless they refuse to assimilate, in which case, fuck them. Guess that's not the Constitution. That's the Declaration of Independence, but you know what I meant. All right. I want to talk about this. This was a really interesting hearing. The Republicans brought in a bunch of people to talk about how scary immigrants are. And this didn't go well for Senator Johnson here. Speaking to, I don't remember his first name, but it's Mr. Byer. He's from the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank. So while the Republicans in here may think that this is some like commie lib, this is a libertarian that he's talking to. And the Republicans are very upset at the libertarian in the room for accurately pointing out, one, their bigotry, and two, their lack of data to back up any of the fear-mongering that they push out.
650,000 people that are at large in America have committed crimes. 15,000 murderers. 20,000 rapists. Ms. Spear, you're shaking your head.
They're not at large.
Yeah. They keep saying this. Republicans keep saying this. Dipshit Republicans that listen to it, hear it, go, that must be true. This is just not true. And I think Ron Johnson is finding this out for the very first time. Because they don't write their own talking points. They're lazy. They're not thinkers. They're not readers. They're not researchers. They're lazy fucks who get their talking points handed to them by Stephen Miller.
Murderers are in prison. They're in prison where they should be.
They're not detained.
Yes, again, they're detained by the state. They're not detained by ICE. They're in prisons ready to be deported. Now,
what do you want to do? Should we not put them in prison when they commit crimes? Do you see how much they skew this data to make you afraid of immigrants?
I don't. Ms. Vaughn.
The number he's citing are people who are in prison currently, and they're like, these dangerous criminals, and Dems don't want to do anything about it. They're in prison. What do you mean they don't want to do anything about it? They're not just out wandering. All right. Then John Kennedy, old foghorn leghorn here. He might be getting dumber. I don't know. If this is a performance, it's one of the worst ones I've ever seen. I've never seen such a calm dismantling of a senator. And John Kennedy has said some remarkably dumb things in his day. He unloads 3 or 4 here that are going to make his top 10 list at the end of his career.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
Secretary Wolf, thank you for your service. Why, in your opinion, do so many, not all, but so many of my Democratic colleagues believe in open borders?
Now, he's asking a Republican this, a white nationalist this. We've done this every day. Can you name me, he said Republican colleagues, so we're talking about the Senate here. Can any of you name me a senator who endorses open borders? Republicans here, can you give me one senator who has endorsed open borders? We'll let it play while you can Google it if you want.
Well, it's a good question. I think it's a couple of different fronts. One, it would be they don't believe in immigration law. They don't like enforcement. They don't like removing of individuals. And they believe that there are some that
Senator Phil McCracken. Okay, good. Kamala Harris. She's not a senator. You fucking idiot. And she didn't support open borders. Try again.
Believe that anyone and everyone should be able to come to the U.S., whether they apply for protections under U.S. law or not. And then there's some probably that would like to see more voters in the U.S. as well.
Ms. Vaughn,
Secondly, why would you ask a Republican why Democrats support something? If this is not just a performance, why would you ask a Republican why Democrats think something? Because you know you're going to get the answer you want.
My colleagues, for whom I have great respect, believe that the 10th Amendment allows local governments to ignore federal immigration law and implement sanctuary policy.
No, it doesn't. What it says is that they don't have to assist the federal government in police work for federal law enforcement. That's what a sanctuary city is. It doesn't bar the federal government from coming into these cities and doing their job. It bars the cities from having to use their own resources to assist the federal government. That's why he'd getting that peanut butter out of his lips there, those hanging jowls. How come everything they tell you is a flat fucking lie? This just doesn't exist. This isn't real. At any point, are you going to get tired of every single word that comes out of their mouths being a fucking lie? Not one thing he's going to say here is going to be true. He's 0 for 3. 2. He's 0 for 2. And then Ron Johnson made it 0 for 3. Why do they have to lie? Why can't they just tell the truth? They don't really have anything good. They don't really have anything to say. They've scared you so much about immigrants, and they know that works, that they're just going to keep lying to you about immigrants.
The Supreme Court has ruled that racial quotas represent a pernicious form of racial discrimination. Can local governments ignore that ruling under the 10th Amendment?
Well, the 10th Amendment is about...
See, the problem that he has here, and he knows better than this, he's talking about federal protections. So the states can't overrule federal protection of, and now this is silly too. He's like, this is like the reverse racism thing, the dog shit Supreme Court ruling. But yeah, like a state can't overrule the Second Amendment. They can't overrule the First Amendment. They can't overrule the 10th Amendment. But there's no amendment that says states have to use their resources to help federal law enforcement do their job. He's comparing apples and rivers. These things aren't the same at all. There's no federal amendment that says that you have to use your local resources to help federal law enforcement.
Answer my
Grandpa forgot his boiled egg. I like that.
question, please, ma'am.
The 10th Amendment is about commandeering, and so
Can
it's
the
not
10th
really appropriate to this because
Is the answer yes or no, ma'am?
could you ask me again? Because I don't understand the relevance to, I'm sorry, I don't, because ICE is not asking them.
Secretary Wolf.
Let me ask the guy who's going to give me the answer I want.
Question. Under the guise of the 10th Amendment, can local governments ignore a Supreme Court ruling?
I don't believe they can.
Okay.
The Supreme Court also hasn't ruled that sanctuary cities are required to use their resources to help the federal government. So there is no ruling that's being ignored here either. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Women have the right to vote in America by statute and by constitutional interpretation.
Sorry
Under
about
the
that,
guise of the
Republicans.
10th Amendment,
No, that upsets you.
can local governments just ignore that and prohibit women from voting?
No.
Okay. Mr. Duke, you worked for President Biden and Vice President Harris, didn't you?
Yes.
And I listened carefully to your testimony today. You expressed, well, you offered the opinion that the One Big Beautiful Bill is terrible in part because it will cause deficits. Is that right?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that the profligacy...
Okay, wait. Real quick. I don't know what word he just used there. This is what our chat was doing earlier today when we talked about God, and they talk about God as if it's factual. And they just they've just co-opted that word to mean whatever the fuck they want. The things he's about to lay out as facts aren't facts. They're legitimate hypotheticals.
Will cause deficits. Is that right?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that the profligacy of President Biden...
What is that word? Profligacy? I've never heard that word. Profligacy. Reckless extravagance. Okay.
caused 9% inflation in America?
No.
Okay. Isn't it a fact?
Yeah, because that's not a fact. That's not a fact. It was a combination of things that caused 9% inflation, most of which the world supply chain crashing, COVID killing millions of people, and then, yes, spending. But it wasn't reckless spending that caused 9% inflation. No economist would agree with that.
That if President Biden had discovered life on Mars when he was president, he would have immediately sent it money.
I swear to God he said it. I swear to God he said it. I'll do it again. This was a real question in a Senate hearing.
Isn't it a fact that if President Biden had discovered life on Mars when he was president, he would have immediately sent it money?
This space too. It was a serious question. What the fuck would what would they do with money? What in the world would life on Mars do with money? We send it to them, they'd be like, what the fuck's this? Also, you're a member of Congress, you old fuck. You control the purse. You guys spent all that money. It was you. Could you please take a second and understand the functions of government and your role as a member of the Senate? It was you. You guys spent that money.
I don't believe so.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, I appreciate your newly found fiscal conservatism.
That was his rebuttal to that guy saying that Donald Trump is not fiscally conservative. There was an easy argument there for Kennedy, and he took the absurd one. He could have said, isn't it true that Joe Biden had deficit spending? Yep. Could have just said that. But he went with, if there was life found on Mars, Joe Biden would have given it money and he caused inflation. Both things untrue. That's where we're at now with MAGA. They don't even try to tell you the truth. I think the problem is if they did tell you the truth, you wouldn't believe it. You can only exist in this hyperbolic world.
Mr. Beer.
Where's the outrage for Americans abandoned? Are you asking me or like just in general?
You seem to be a very smart guy, and you seem to be a nice enough guy.
Thank you, Senator. You seem smart as well.
Jack.
Don't.
That was Lindsey Graham, I think, that just said I object.
That was the chairman, not me.
Don't you think your hyperbolic statements undermine your credibility?
What hyperbolic statement did I make?
I love his attitude. I love his attitude. He knows that this is a libertarian from the Cato Institute. This is not somebody who's like a radical on immigration. This isn't somebody who's radical on the Constitution. This is somebody who he and I are going to have a lot of similarities, but like would differ on a lot of things like the size and scope of the government and the role of the government. We would have a difference of opinion there. But like this isn't some commie. This is a libertarian. And now listen to the quotes that Senator Foghorn Leghorn thinks are radical.
On February the 11th, 2026, you posted on Bluesky.
How's the same guy that used profligacy also going to mispronounce blue sky? He used profligacy earlier, and now we're on to Bluesky.
Quote, my words, or your words, not mine. The Democrats' video telling service members to ignore illegal orders didn't go far enough. They should have also urged them to refuse unethical orders, whether illegal or not. There are many.
Is that outrageous to anybody? Is anybody outraged by that? By saying it? Not only should you not obey unlawful orders, you should also disobey unethical orders. Sarah's bugging the shit out of me today. That seems reasonable to me.
Many things deemed legal that are still obviously unethical, and everyone should hold themselves to this higher law. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe you did. Do you disagree with it? You think people should do unethical things in their capacity?
On December the 31st.
Just leave. He just moves on. You don't want to answer that question.
Of 2025. You posted in front of God.
But wait. Do you disagree with what I said?
Let me finish my question.
I'm sorry.
Answered, sir. Sure. In front of God and country. You said, quote, they, referring to Republicans, think they can troll their way into us accepting ethnic.
Real quick, just Ralph, that's all you people do is sit around and cry about the government. But you're sitting around crying about people who are crying about the government. You know what I mean? Which one's worse? One of these things is affecting us, right? The government affects us. Us complaining about the government doesn't affect us, except for you can't, like, why aren't you guys masturbating to Trump like the rest of us?
Cleansing. End quote. Your words, not mine. Did I read that correctly?
That was in regard to a Department of Homeland Security post about advocating 100 million deportations. That is what DHS has tweeted from their own account. 100 million deportations would be ethnic cleansing. You would be removing one.
What do you mean truth hurts? What is he talking about? Truth hurts. They said it. He responded that would qualify as ethnic cleansing. What the fuck is Kennedy talking about? That would qualify as ethnic cleansing.
1/3 of the country. So yes, there are people within the Department of Homeland Security.
And you don't think this is hyperbolic? Give me 30 more seconds.
I think advocating 100 million deportations is
I'm having fun here,
ethnic cleansing.
You're doing great, John. Damian, thanks for joining the $2 train. Charles said, why don't the other senators call them out when they lie during hearings? Also, this is Antifa Deuce. They're not allowed to. You get your 5 minutes, and you're supposed to be uninterrupted.
February 5th, you quoted you said the following on Bluesky.
Your time's up.
Bluesky again.
These are all good, but there's no enforcement mechanism. I'm sorry. Let me try a better one. On March 2nd, you said, quote, if you rule against Trump's population purge agenda, no hyperbole there, the nativists will name.
Why would that be hyperbole? If they want to deport 100 million Americans, 1/3 of the population, if that's their stated goal, and then from DHS, and then you say that that is a population purge agenda, how is that inaccurate? If you got rid of 1/3 of the people, that by every definition, that is a population purge. Somebody else obviously is doing all the work for Kennedy here. It's alarming that he doesn't know how poorly this is going for him.
You, threaten you, and come after you. These judges are much braver than the ICE agents who hide behind masks while violating the Constitution.
They are much braver. They put their names on their rulings and they stand behind their constitutional rulings. When I talk about population purge, I'm talking about the fact that they're trying to deport U.S.-born citizens, people born here. They are trying to deport them as well. So it's not a mass deportation agenda. It is also an agenda intended to reduce the population of the United States, including U.S.-born people. So these are not hyperbolic statements. I appreciate you reading my account. I appreciate
Here's the good news.
What planet did you just... Wait a minute, Mr. Chairman. What planet did you just parachute in from?
No. Hey, guys.
You trigger my gag reflex.
So
I doubt it. I bet you've got a very sturdy gag reflex there.
So
Lindsay just got a little hard there. Oh, that's what I'm doing after this. Yeah, exactly, Cranberry. Exactly. It didn't get better. It's pretty embarrassing how bad these witnesses are for the Republicans. Here's Senator Van Hollen, point blank to what's his name again?
Thank you.
What is his name?
Chairman?
He'll say his name.
Hollen, I apologize.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wolf, if I could start with you. You would agree that in America...
I don't know why some of you Republicans that are here are saying what citizen got deported. There have been multiple citizens who have been detained, but what he was talking about was the undoing of citizenship. He was talking about the proposals by this administration to strip people of their citizenship and deport them. So the tweets that Kennedy was reading were his responses to government officials advocating that we strip people of their citizenship and deport them. This is why it works for Republicans, because you just watch the same thing we did and you don't know what he's answering. Are you unaware that that has been an idea floated by the Trump administration over and over and over again? Ending birthright citizenship, reversing birthright citizenship, reversing citizenship from countries that Trump doesn't like? How many times has he advocated to strip Ilhan Omar of her citizenship? You know that they're advocating for this. Just listen. Stop being so offended about everything. Stop getting enraged about shit that you don't understand. This is what you advocate for. He correctly pointed that out, and now you're arguing with him. So you're ironically arguing with the administration that you support.
Come. People have the right to peacefully protest under the First Amendment, right?
Correct.
You would agree that people have
Chad Wolf is his name.
Constitutional right to due process, right?
Correct.
Would you agree with Kristi Noem, who characterized...
Hot Rod, my mods suck. So does your dad. Wink.
Renee Good as a domestic terrorist? Is Renee Good a domestic terrorist in your view?
I've been very clear on this point when that incident occurred, as well as the Preddy incident as well, is to let that investigation play out before any comments are made about the motives of any of the individuals involved, including the law enforcement officers.
So clearly it was wrong to label them domestic terrorists, right?
Again, I'm not at the department. I don't know what the information she had. If you're asking me my opinion, I would have waited till the investigation play out before I rendered any decision.
So you think it's still
He
an
was at one point the acting secretary of Homeland Security in the first Trump administration. So he does have experience working in that administration. He himself is admitting, like, I would not have called it I would not have called them Alex Preddy or Renee Good domestic terrorists.
open question as to whether or not they're domestic terrorists?
Again, I'm going to let the investigation
It sounds like
play
you
out.
do, which I think, the country has seen the videos, okay? So I find it outrageous that you would sit here today and hold open the idea that they were domestic terrorists. Their parents and their loved ones deserve an apology from the U.S. government, and I found it outrageous that you're taking the position that you are
I'm not
here
taking
today.
that position.
Yes, you are. By taking no position and leaving on the table the notion that they're domestic terrorists, you are taking a position.
Perfect. We have to stop allowing these people in the Trump administration to show up and testify in front of Congress and go, "I'm not taking a position. I have no opinion on anything. I will not answer any question directly."
Mr. Beer, thank you for emphasizing the big lie that what the Trump administration is doing is going after the worst of the worst. As Senator Merkley pointed out, and as you've shown, that's just not true. I mean, nobody wants people who are here illegally committing violent crimes. But the overwhelming majority of people who are in detention right now, by ICE's own admission, pose no risk to public safety. Is that right?
That's right. Over 70% were given no threat level at all. They could be released right now without a threat to the public.
I don't remember his first name. Somebody asked me this. It's a Beyer, B-I-E, or Beer, or Beyer, B-I-E-R. He is the head of the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank.
So this is just such a big lie. I mean, that's what we're seeing playing out in this forum and out of the White House from people like Stephen Miller and the President of the United States. Could you talk about another big lie? We do know that the so-called big beautiful bill, as Republicans called it, increased the debt massively, like over $4 trillion, right? They gave tax cuts to billionaires permanently. They cut health programs. They cut food safety, food programs. They had a walloping increase for ICE, like 7 times its regular budget. And at the same
All right, Jackie, I won't deny you're my bestie. Thank you.
time, we hear people like Stevie Miller and others claiming that it's actually immigrants who are the cause of increasing our deficits and debt. In fact, they've said that immigration is the cause of the growing national debt, and immigrants take more from the country than they contribute. Now, Mr. Beer, you've looked at this question very closely. Could you just respond to what I think is the second big lie?
Yeah, over the last 30 years, we looked at all the government budgets, federal, state, and local combined. Immigrants reduced deficits.
Okay, Republicans, I need you to check in for a second, okay? Take your mind off of trans people, off of woke shit. I need you to listen. You got this. We believe in you. Everybody, let the Republicans know that we believe in them. Okay. What he's about to share here is data, and it's going to be data on how much money immigrants cost us. And the way that you figure out how much money, specifically undocumented immigrants cost us, is you say, here's how much money we spent, and here's how much money we take in. And then you take the amount that you spent, and you take the amount that they brought in, and then you calculate the difference. And so if let's say that we spent $15 trillion more than we brought in, that would be negative $15 trillion, right? And if it was positive $10, like if we brought in $10 more than we spent, it would be positive $10, right? I also want you to think about, Republicans here, raise your hand if you think that economically undocumented immigrants are a net drain on our resources, meaning that we pay out more money than we bring in. You can give me a thumbs up, you can raise your hand, you can say yes or no. So thumbs down if no, thumbs up if yes. Do you think they are costing you and I, the taxpayer, money, or is it a net positive? You got this, guys. No, just Republicans. Goddamn, we're bad. We're bad at taking direct. Just Republicans. Down. Okay, so no, we spend more on them. Okay, got it. Thank you. Money doesn't matter. Okay, great. It's not the question I asked. You're just like you're very on brand for a Republican, answering a question nobody fucking asked you. Net negative. Negative. Okay. Where's the billion from Minnesota? And again, not the question I asked. Good try, Melissa. Really good try there. But again, I'm asking you specifically if the amount of money that we take in is more than the amount of money that we spend. Somebody mute LEAVRL. Listen, brother, you have used that same joke like 25 times and nobody's laughed yet. You need to be in a 5-minute timeout, go write some new material and come back. But you can't keep swinging and missing. It's supposed to be 3 strikes and you're out, but you're struggling with this. Nothing, you're not going to answer that question, most of you? Got it. Here we go.
All the government budgets, federal, state, and local combined, immigrants reduced deficits by $14.5 trillion, which is about a third of all of the total deficits during that period of time. And it's easy to understand.
So our deficits would be $14 trillion higher? Huh.
Why? Because they work at 12 percentage points higher than the national average. They use less.
They work more. That's crazy. So these lazy Americans are getting outworked. What else do they do?
Benefits because they're subject to constraints, unique barriers to applying for those benefits, in particular Social Security and Medicare, where those are by far.
Sorry, real quick, I do want to be clear on this, actually. The number he's citing is not only undocumented immigrants, but also immigrants who are not citizens. So these are also people with work permits.
Our largest programs, and they're not eligible for those at all if they're here in the country illegally, or if they came legally and they don't have a sufficient work history to qualify. So you have clear reasons.
Never mind. I stand corrected. The number he's citing is just people who are undocumented. I apologize.
For believing that they are reducing the deficits and debt, they are a benefit to this country, and we need more people who are going to contribute in the future as our population ages.
Could you amplify a little more?
Yes, Joe. I was confused too. I actually thought this included everybody who could work here but wasn't a citizen. I was wrong about that. So actually, it's that number is going to be a lot higher if you include people who are here just on work permits because they don't get access to the same benefits that you or I might.
On the issue of Medicare and Social Security, because those trust funds in just a couple years there won't be enough to pay out full on the dollar for Social Security and Medicare.
That's
As
right.
you pointed out, there are many immigrants that are paying in to that, but not paying out. So could you just elaborate on that?
According to the Social Security Administration, we need about 35 million more workers in order to keep revenues equal to expenses by the middle of the 2030s. So we are at a position right now where immigration is not.
5 more minutes for JSEX for saying it's the first time I've ever admitted being wrong. I do it all the time. That's another 5 minutes for you, JSEX. Get them, mods.
Not going to solve it. Obviously, it's not going to solve it, but it is moving us in the right direction. These are people who are showing up. They're ready to work. They're often prime age individuals who are ready to enter.
But they're eating the pets. They're sending their worst. We're afraid of them. They're replacing the good whites. We can't have them here. We would rather be $15 trillion more in debt than be replaced.
Labor force. So it's a huge benefit fiscally to the United States to have these people who want to contribute to our country.
Thank you. And thank you for exposing 2 of the big lies.
One more here. They were eating pets. Why is JSEX still here? Mods, can you get JSEX? Why are you still here? That's 10 minutes. As soon as he gets back again, give him another 5 minutes for lying twice. 2 times in a row, JSEX? Man, you're getting worse at this, bud. All right, and then let's talk about sanctuary cities. Here's Tim Kaine.
Mr. Chair, thanks for doing this. And Sheriff, welcome. I've got a Virginian at the table. That's why I wanted to come. My sheriff in his testimony said, it is important to distinguish criminal aid.
Those fake kid daycares really helped the economy. All those people were here legally. All of those people that were defrauding Medicare were citizens of the United States. That's how they had business licenses. That's how they had contracts with the state. Again, this is why people call you racist. Because we're talking about people who are undocumented, and you're just talking about people who are black and brown or come from other countries. The people that committed the fraud in Minnesota are not undocumented immigrants. They are citizens, or they have work permits. But none of those people were undocumented. You guys got to start figuring out what the fuck you're talking about.
Aliens who pose a threat to our community from immigrants here legally. All of us agree with that. We should try to find that balance. I don't think we're balanced right now. I've been here 13.
So, yeah, Laniel, so no one benefiting from them were undocumented? LOL, not one. You can't get those benefits as somebody who is undocumented. No. None of the people committing that fraud were undocumented. How do you not know that? And that's why they get kicked the fuck out of the United States for fraud. None of them got kicked out. None of them. Not one of the people who committed fraud got kicked out of the United States. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what world you guys live in. You just make shit up. That's crazy.
Years. I wish we'd have a hearing about the positive impact immigrants make on the United States. We've never had that hearing in this committee or the HELP committee or any others. When we have hearings, it's about immigrants doing bad things rather than about the positives that immigrants do.
Why didn't you have them?
Well, can I take my time? Can I take my time? Because I think what happens, I think what happens when...
Get a whole minute more.
I can tell you why. Because we don't need to have circle jerks in Congress. That's why. We shouldn't hold hearings about how people are doing well. We don't need to have celebrations. You hold hearings when you need to fix things. There's no reason to hold a hearing talking about how immigrants are helpful, unless it's in a hearing like this, where you have to have a counter to all the misinformation coming from Republicans about immigrants.
Only hearings about immigrants are about crime, and we have a president who calls people's countries shithole countries. I got a lot of immigrants in the United States and in Virginia who feel like they're being targeted. And let's talk about positives. And I'm going to use Loudoun as an example. The sheriff is rightly proud of Loudoun County. 420,000 people in the last census. It's probably coming up to 450 now. It is not only one of the safest jurisdictions in the United States, it's also, by recent count, the wealthiest county in the United States. And guess what? 25% of the population and climbing is immigrant.
I like that one. Rent went up because millions of illegals moved in Section 8. If you are an undocumented immigrant, you don't qualify for Section 8. So, like, how many more times do you guys have to be wrong? Who are you getting your information? Who are you getting your information from?
25%. Safe, economically successful immigrant. And I also applaud this sheriff's department. If you have something to do, or if you don't have something to do on Halloween sometime, go to the Halloween parade in Leesburg, and you'll see.
All right, Laniel, you've now moved your goalposts far enough that we can agree. You said, so if a legal documented citizen commits a crime, there's no shot that criminal would help illegals with said money. I agree. If you commit, you can use money however you want. And if you commit a crime and you decide to give some of the money that you made after committing a crime, and you gave it to somebody who's here that's undocumented, then yes, we can agree on that. We finally found some agreement. You only had to move the goalpost 75 times to get there, but we're there. Thank you. Now we agree. That is the only way undocumented immigrants in Minnesota would have benefited from the fraud, is if somebody who committed the fraud then gave them money. You're right. Not a lot we can do about that.
The sheriff's deputies helping order. And they all wear uniforms with their names on them. None of them wear masks. The county's been an innovator in body camera use. Wow, what a novel concept. I like the professionalism that I see with your sheriff's department, and I think we could use it at the federal level. Here's an issue about sanctuary cities in the Trump administration. DHS, Mr. Chair, you might like this one. DHS in May put out a list of sanctuary cities, and they included 34 Virginia communities, cities and counties on that list. It provoked laughter in Virginia. There were cities that were not cities but counties. There were counties that were not counties but cities. There were jurisdictions that have virtually no immigrants whatsoever listed as sanctuary communities.
That's because staffers write everything for them. They don't know anything. And their staffers are fucking dumb. And their staffers are also lazy because there's no consequences when you are a Republican for putting out blatant lies that build on the racist narratives of this administration. In fact, it's something that's viewed favorably by this administration.
Here was my favorite. The city of Duffield, Virginia. Now, if you don't know where Duffield is, you're not alone. Scott County, deep in Appalachia.
Thank you, Heck Tech. If undocumented immigrants get low-income housing, which is not Section A, and you say that's in California, that is the state paying for that. That is not federal dollars. And what we're talking about in this hearing, because this is the Senate, would be federal dollars, because these people work for the federal fucking government. So if this was a hearing in California and it was state legislators, you would have a point. But you still don't have a point because this is about federal dollars, not state dollars.
0.6 square miles, 76 people, not a single immigrant, not even a police department, sanctuary city. Virginia laughed the DHS out of the office. And so in October, this was in May.
Chase, what am I doing that's not? You say go both ways, stop being left or right. What am I doing here that's left or right? Because I'm agreeing with Democrats? What do you want me to do? Should we all just go outside and say what Jace is saying? Hey guys, it's all of us against them. They're both bad. Oh, cool, that'll fucking get us somewhere. No, we're just calling out lies. And it just so happens to be that when it comes to immigration, the group that lies about immigration repeatedly over and fucking over again is the Republicans. So when we talk about immigration, it's going to look an awful lot like it's biased against the Republicans because they won't stop fucking lying. And in this hearing, the only people telling the truth aren't the Republicans. The people that are fact-checking and using real data are not the Republicans. I'm tired of the bitch-assery fence-sitters like, it's both sides. No, the fuck it's not. Sometimes it's both sides. When we want to talk about like the influence of Israel using AIPAC on our federal government, that's both sides. If you want to talk about people enriching themselves through insider trading or taking money from lobbyists, that's both sides. I would never do an entire live on like people taking money from lobbyists and only talk about Republicans. That's silly because of course both sides do it. But this isn't a both sides issue. This is one side is fucking lying. And on top of the lies, it also hurts us. You're tearing apart families. And I know that you guys don't care about like, immigrants. You don't view them as first-class citizens. They're second-class citizens. But I care about that. But even if you don't care about that, financially, this has been devastating to us. We've quadrupled the budget of ICE, and we are not getting better results. We're overpaying for real estate all over the country. This is costing us a fucking fortune. And at the same time, it's decimating our economy. So even if I were to accept that you think immigrants are icky or whatever, and you want them gone because illegal is illegal, they broke the law, I would still make the argument that it doesn't make any financial sense to do this type of mass deportation the way that it's being done. It's killing us. So please don't come in here and both sides this shit unless you're going to point out something that I'm missing here that Tim Kaine is lying about. If he gets something wrong here, if he lies about something and I miss it, happy to correct it. But these generic statements of, oh, dude, you only go after, like, address what's happening here. If we get something wrong, say it. But the fence-sitting both sides is just dumb. That doesn't unite anybody. That's just lazy thinking. What if we all just said we're fucked? And we all just agreed that we're fucked and they're against us. Okay, what's next? What's the next step after that? We got to figure out who to vote for, right? Well, who are we going to vote for? Because everybody on the ballot is either a Democrat or a Republican. Who do we figure out who to vote for? Well, perhaps we should look at these committee hearings and we go, well, who's lying to us? What things are important to me? And which side is telling the truth? Or which side has a better argument? And sometimes one side might have a better argument. Sometimes both sides might have a bad argument, and there might be fringe people on both sides that have a better argument. There's been plenty of times like AOC and Matt Gaetz aligned. I find myself aligning with Rand Paul all the time now, and Thomas Massey. I find myself giving kudos to Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Anna Paulina Luna. But this one's an easy one. One side is lying. They're demonizing immigrants, and they're doing it at the detriment of our country. And the other side here is telling the truth.
In August, DOJ came back and did a new list. Number of sanctuary cities in Virginia, 0. They redid the list in October. Number of sanctuary cities in Virginia, 0. Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce DHS's bogus sanctuary cities list into the record.
Without objection.
And then, Mr. Chair, my last question is, look, I'm not on judiciary, and the bill that you have about imposing liability on local officials would suggest that the only fault in this area lies on local officials. Now, if you have a markup, it'll be in judiciary, and I'm not on it, but my question is sort of for you. Isn't what's good for the goose good for the gander? What about all the times when I was governor of Virginia, 2006, 2010, and my DOC, Department of Corrections, or local law enforcement told ICE and the federal immigration agencies, 3 years under President Bush, 1 year under President Obama, that, hey, we've got somebody here who is not lawfully here. Please come pick them up. And ICE didn't show up. And ICE still is not showing up. So often, the bad examples, including one of the ones in Fairfax recently, repeat.
This is now the second instance been brought to the attention that they are blaming these sanctuary cities that have undocumented immigrants who have committed crimes sitting in prison. And because states don't have the ability to deport people, because that is a function of DHS, if DHS doesn't come and get people out of the prisons and deport them, then there's not a goddamn thing these cities can do. And there is no evidence anywhere that I've seen, you could cite some if there is some, that any of these cities is refusing to let DHS come in and take criminals who are here that are here illegally and take them out of prison and deport them. I don't know of a single case like that. There very well might be, but I don't know of one. They just like to cite the numbers. They just like to demonize sanctuary cities. And I honestly don't know how many Republicans in the Senate or in Congress have a fucking clue what a sanctuary city is, because every time I hear them talk about it, they're talking about something that does not exist.
Instances of ICE having this person in their purview, in their grasp.
What was Minneapolis? A good question, Ramboni. If you look at the people that ICE detained, and you say, like, how many of those people were violent criminals? It's like 15% of those people. And they got almost 100% of those people. I think it's like 14% out of the 15%. They took out of prisons. They didn't go find them. They didn't track them down on the streets. Most of the violent criminals that have been deported from Minneapolis came out of prisons. So Sanctuary City, Minneapolis is allowing this. If you've watched any testimony from anybody from Minnesota, you know that that's true. If you check the data yourself, you will find out that that's true. ICE is not going after violent criminals. That's what they're supposed to do. They've stopped doing that. In fact, when Trump came into office, they essentially ripped up all the rules for ICE, because ICE was only really supposed to go after national security risks originally when they were created. And Trump just ripped that up and expanded their budget and said, go get everybody. So when you guys compare like Obama or you compare Biden to the Trump administration and you compare those numbers, if you look at the deportations under Obama and you look at where those deportations came from, the overwhelming majority of them came within 100 miles of the border, either the southern or northern border. And there are different rules within 100 miles of the border. You lose some of your due process rights when you are within 100 miles of the border. And so those detentions, those apprehensions, and those deportations happen very quickly, and they happen all the time. And a lot of times you wind up deporting the same person over and over and over again. Right? So some of those numbers are repeat offenders. But you have to understand the numbers that you're looking. You can't just look at the total number and be like, this is the same thing. This is the only time in the history of ICE that we have used them to go after non-violent criminals. It's the only time we've ever done this. This is a new thing that the Trump administration is doing.
And then letting them go. So wouldn't it be, I mean, if you're going to do a bill and blame cities for this and try to impose liability on their local taxpayers, what about letting people sue ICE when hardworking local officials and sheriffs let folks know, hey, we got folks here that are here unlawfully, come pick them up. And when they don't come pick them up, shouldn't they be liable for that?
Yeah, maybe that's something we could do together. Sounds like a pretty good idea to me. Be glad to work with you.
Yeah, perhaps you shouldn't have just learned about this now, Lindsey Graham. Perhaps you should have known about this before you held this dog shit hearing.
Well, I think those days are probably over with this administration. But the idea that the federal government had notice and the local community is willing to turn them over and they turned a blind eye and somebody got hurt.
He just cited an example. He just told you. He just pointed out the sheriff. He just told you about a county in Virginia where this was happening. It's happening.
I would be willing definitely to create liability there.
And I'll just conclude, Mr. Chair, and say, the mayor in me, the governor in me, gets mad when things like this get blamed on mayors and governors, when often it's complete dysfunction at the federal level under multiple administrations. That's the real culprit. I yield.
Bingo. But they don't want to take accountability for that. Dastardly said, I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be small, but I am somebody. I may have made mistakes, but I am somebody. Perfect. I love that, actually. All right. And then just last one here, because this is blatantly unconstitutional and it just is allowed to happen in this country over and over. One of the reasons that so many of these things Donald Trump does that are in direct violation of the Constitution, the reason that they're allowed to keep happening is this version of the Supreme Court has decided to take a totally different approach to how they enforce laws. What they're allowing Trump to do is do illegal things. And then when he gets sued, instead of saying you have to stop until this lawsuit is finished, they say, go ahead and keep doing it until this lawsuit is finished. And then the Department of Justice just kicks the can down the road as long as they can. We've seen this time and time again. I think a great example is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who has been tied up in litigation for years now, who got illegally deported to a concentration camp in El Salvador, and who, since coming back, has had nothing but court win after court win after court win, but the DOJ just keeps dragging it out. And that allows them to keep doing illegal things. They know how to use the system. They're abusing the system. And it's because the Supreme Court is also owned by the same people who are running Trump's agenda.
The Department of Homeland Security has its own internal threat assessment that they assign to each individual who comes into their custody. And those people have to prioritize. They actually have a mandate. They can't be all political. They have to figure out who is actually a threat. And of those people, only 10% received the highest threat level, and 70% were deemed by the Department of Homeland Security to not be a threat at all.
So how does that match the campaign rhetoric about we're going to go after the worst of the worst, which I think 100% of Americans supported the idea that anyone who had created a violent...
If you could see this chart, I'm sorry that it's a little blurry here, but somebody said child trafficking is not a violent crime. There you are, blood-addled. It is, and it's included in the chart. Child trafficking is included in the data for violent crimes. Why do you just say things? Why do you just guess? Just look it up. Go Google right now. Is child trafficking considered a violent crime? Just look it up. Legally, is it considered a violent crime? Of course it is. Brady says, do you agree or disagree with legal deportations? I apologize if you have stated this before. Look, the law can be followed, right? I think that I would prefer a different set of laws on the books, but yes, like if you are legally deported, I'm not going to raise hell about that. I might say I would like some changes. I think we should lean more into amnesty for people who are here, who are working, and who haven't committed violent crimes. But if you're here and you're committing crimes and you're undocumented, I have absolutely no problem with you being deported. That doesn't bother me one bit. I would like a more sensible immigration policy, but yeah, I don't support wide open borders. I don't support unvetted immigration. I don't really support undocumented immigration. I think that there's a lot of things that we could do to streamline that process. And again, there aren't any elected Democrats in this body here in the Senate who support open borders or unlimited illegal immigration. That's just a lie that Republicans tell their voting base so that their voting base doesn't care what they do, because they can always say, well, it's better than open borders, which nobody advocates for. Nobody ever has advocated for that in the United States Senate, at least that I'm aware of. You could probably find me an example going years back, but I don't know of anybody currently in the United States Senate that advocates for that.
Crime should be investigated, should be prosecuted, should be, if convicted. And
I appreciate that redone. That's the problem. See, you just said the shit I said in the last 3 minutes conflicts with itself. No, it doesn't. It conflicts with what you think I believe and what you think I'm saying. I can criticize the administration overstepping the Constitution. I can criticize them for going after nonviolent criminals. When ICE was created after September 11th to go specifically after national security threats, terrorists originally, and then obviously that's morphed. They're not doing what they were designed to do, and I don't like the inhumane way that they go about doing it. I don't think anything I've said today is contradictory with my own viewpoints, but I also want to state that my viewpoints don't matter that much if the law says otherwise. So my arguments today are about the laws. I'm not actually sharing, that's the first time I've shared my own opinion on what I would like immigration policy to be. I'm citing the current law. I'm just making the argument with what they're saying is not true.
Incarcerated, should be deported, but those numbers don't match that.
Great campaign
No,
messaging.
I didn't. Blood Addled, you have to apologize or get muted for 5 minutes. I've never said that everybody should be allowed to enter the United States. Somebody watch Blood Addled. 5 minutes or for an apology, or they need an apology in 2 minutes, or they get a 5-minute mute.
Great messaging for a $200 million ad campaign by the DHS secretary, not based in reality at all. On day one of this administration, they rescinded all policies that forced ICE to focus on violent offenders and people with criminal convictions.
So how does that square with what you guys voted for? Or did you always know they were lying when they said they were just going to focus on violent criminals? It's one or the other, right? You knew they were lying, but you didn't care, or you've changed your opinion. Bradley, I got that one. Amy Lynn said, Trump took money and people away from investigating human trafficking in the United States. True. They have moved a lot of that money around to do Kristi Noem shit, which is not very bright.
So they did the exact opposite of what they told the citizens they were going to do during the campaign.
It was a lie, just like it was a lie about all the things they said about Renee Good and Alex Preddy and all the other people that they've killed over the last year.
And you recommend, do I have time for the last question? My time has expired. You recommend in your testimony that there be a private right of action when individuals' civil rights are violated. Now, my understanding is that if local police or state police violate your civil rights, you have a cause of action against that. Is that correct?
Yeah, under Title 42, Section 1983, there's a private right of action against state and local, but not against the feds. And this is a critically important issue because right now they're recruiting all these state and local officers into essentially the ICE framework, which gives them immunity against all constitutional violations that they carry out while working in conjunction with the federal government. So we need—
Should that exist? Should a federal police force have immunity from violating people's rights? Because that's effectively what we have right now. Is that American values? Is that law and order?
need to expand that to cover federal officers as well to make sure we don't have this immunity creep into every police department in America, which is their goal, including through this bill that we're talking about today.
So when the vice president said ICE agents have absolute immunity in violating people's civil rights, he was right.
Effectively, yes. Right now, as the law stands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes.
Just one point.
I don't think that there's any scenario where that should be an acceptable policy. The police should never have absolute immunity. Federal, state, local, there should not be absolute immunity ever. And you've literally heard J.D. Vance say you have absolute immunity. This administration has told them you can violate people's rights, you can violate Americans' rights, you can violate the Constitution, doesn't matter. We're going to get you off.
Getting them off, huh?
I knew you were coming in for that.
I mean, I was planning on hopping in, but the time is just kiss.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to hop into some quick announcements. I want to remind everybody of, sorry about Ozzy, I'm a little quicker than that. Just wanted to remind everybody about our gift goal. We've got about, do we have a hard stop today or?
Yeah, about roughly 1:15, something like that.
So we've got about an hour, a little more than an hour left of the show. So if you guys want to help us out with that gift goal, we do this each day. If you want to update the total, I think we've Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all of that goes towards knocking out that balance. This is our job. We do this each day from Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. So this is our job. We do this to keep the lights on. We're crowdfunded, so we don't have any sponsors or Soros or DNC money. So we're all crowdfunded here. If you guys are enjoying the show, if we did a dollar train, we could knock out the gift goal quick, fast, in a hurry. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you guys disagree with RTP and you'd like to have a conversation with him, you can add me on Discord. My Discord's the same as the Venmo, so Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1, and I can bring you on and have a conversation. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We got merch. Jay's on Cameo. We upload episodes to Spotify, and yeah. So, what version of heaven do numbers go to when they die?
What? Wait, ask that again.
What version of heaven do numbers go to when they die?
I don't know.
6th heaven.
Somewhere my daughter's in school and her ears just perked up.
Mine just cringes. She doesn't get.
Yeah, mine's still young. She still thinks that's cool.
Yeah, mine just doesn't think I'm not allowed to say anything. So
that makes sense. All right, thanks, Jen. Walter, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you. All right, let's talk about some election stuff here. Since March, if we look back, March is about the time Trump policy started going into place. And Harry Enton, who was letting the 5 o'clock shadow come out, did some polling to check on how Donald Trump has been doing since he's been able to start putting his policies in place. And not surprising on the polling here.
Which he has a negative net approval rating. Every day since March 12th, 2025, President Trump has been underwater, and we've been counting up the days. We've shown this slide a number of times, and we have now reached the point in which Trump has been swimming with the fishes for a year. Really bad with one voting group. John, you know, we have spoken about this. Independence, independence, independence. The center of the electorate. We have been talking about how Trump has been just downright awful with them. Compare it to George Bush, compare it to Barack Obama, and look at that. 38 points underwater at this point. That is worse than Obama by 20 points. That is worse than George W. Bush by double digits. And of course, George W. Bush's second term went way off
Katrina,
the race.
Iraq, ultimately the Great Recession as well. So that is not a comparison.
No, you don't like that. What don't independents like? What don't the overall electorate like? Are you focusing on the right issues? Are you focusing on what people actually care about? 60% overall say that the Trump administration is...
Thanks, Alicia. That was very generous.
Focus on the wrong things. Look at that. 78% of independents say that the Trump administration is focused on the wrong things. All the prediction markets, all the polling indicates that the Democrats are in the catbird seat when it comes back to taking back the House. And what we see is the Democrats' chance of doing that has been rising, rising, rising. Democrats at this particular point have been increasing those odds. It's not yet.
Who asked that question? There you go, Travis. How do congressional Dems rate? There you go. When Trump took over, 28%. Oh, this is a chance of their wins. Never mind. So this is not there. Sorry, this is the Kalshi odds. Never mind. He's not answering your question. I think he might get to that. But if he doesn't get to it, I'll pull up the approval rating for Democrats. We'll get that answer for you, Travis.
50%, but it is clearly rising. And that is something that I think is quite shocking because a lot of folks like myself thought the Democrats would take back the House. But the idea of taking back the Senate as well, that is a pretty big deal.
Let's just see what I think the last it was like 30-something%. If we go to YouGov, what does YouGov have it at? Is this Democrats? They're at, about 33%. That's from September 5th. I wonder if we have any updated polling from September 5th. Let's see if anybody's done a poll since then. I don't see anyone newer than that. There you go. Does that answer your question? Yeah, Democrats shouldn't have a high approval rating. I think we agree on that. The Republicans here, we agree. The difference is, I'm not going to call that fake. I understand why Democrats have a low approval rating. I don't approve of the Democrats. I don't like them very much. I think Chuck Schumer's got to go. I think Hakeem Jeffries has got to go. I think there's a lot of people in the party that got to go. I don't I'm not pumped about the idea that Gavin Newsom might be the nominee. I think he's got to go. So I think that we might have some common ground there, Republicans, that we all don't approve of the Democrats, but probably for different reasons. Mine is that they're not effective, and yours is that they are Democrats. All right. Oh, shit. Let's go here. There's two things. Couple things we've talked about this week, and if you follow Mark Elias, that's this dude right here in the middle. Highly recommend it. This isn't about him, but one thing that Mark Elias has been saying recently that admittedly I hadn't thought of is that what we're seeing in this Trump administration and what we're seeing with what they're doing with elections is a replay. Like, it's all actually been litigated before. And for Republicans, that's okay. I think for Republicans that are like MAGA, they say oh yeah, the reason we're still saying the same shit is because it's true, but it's not. And most Americans have already decided that it's not true. And the lack of creativity by this administration to come up with new ways to say that elections are somehow stolen by Democrats is not going super well. But here is Amanda Carpenter to explain.
Trump doesn't have any new ideas. And I think everyone knows what's going on at this point. We know he's going to lie about fraud in some county. We know he might have some kind of national emergency. And we know that
Mark Elias was sued by the Trump administration in 2020. America is dying slowly, and he won that lawsuit. And this is the stupidity of all of you. You see, if Trump tries to sue somebody, you just go, oh, they're guilty. Mark Elias won that lawsuit. He was listed with, I think, with Hillary Clinton and who else was that? There was a couple other Democrats. They won, but that's who you all have become. If Trump sues somebody, you just count it as a victory, and when he loses, you go, liberal judges. But he won that, and he's won 60 plus cases against Trump, and he's won every single case against Trump so far in this administration. He's 3-0. When it comes to elections, much higher win rate than that when you look at all his lawsuits. But when it comes to elections, he's 3-0. 4-0, I guess, if you count the one from 2020.
the playbook in advance. That's the good news here. And you want to talk about like what people can do. I just ask that everyone ask themselves, what does it mean to you to be an active participant in your democracy? And that looks like something different for every single person, whether you're a member of the media, whether you're an educator, whether you're a mom watching the show, sending text messages to people. You know, I was thinking the other day, like the hardest thing to do with these like coalitional movement buildings is getting people who view themselves as competitors to put aside their differences and act in the public interest. Trump doesn't have any.
Nothing new. So be aware of that. And talk to your friends about that, and make sure people get out to vote, because he's already tried this and it didn't work. You think that like rerunning this again with no new information is going to convince more people? The longer these lawsuits went on, the less people believed it. There's never been less people who believe that the 2020 election was stolen. It's at its lowest point ever, and they're trotting out the same evidence. Tony said Democrats are not meeting the moment. Weak sauce. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that one. All right. And then let's just talk about what happened last night in Georgia. Now, this seat is probably still going to go Republican here, but this was a pretty significant jump in support for the Democrat in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, which is Georgia 14.
Are testing President Trump's influence ahead of the midterm elections. They voted in a special election on Tuesday, and Chief Washington analyst Robert Costa is here with the results. So, Bob, take a look at the results of the 14th congressional district race. It's a deep red district, as I'm sure you know. Trump endorsed Republican candidate Clay Fuller. He is now headed for a runoff against Democrat Sean Harris. So what?
Now, when you look at this, it looks like Harris is. If you just saw this, you'd say like, "Oh, Harris is the favorite." No, he was running unopposed on the Democratic side, and Fuller had like 2 or 3 challengers. Only one. His next closest got like 9%. I think when you add up the total amount, Republicans got like 60% of the vote or something like that.
What does this say to you about the president's political strength at this moment?
Well, you see in this first round, the Democrats did better than the Trump-endorsed Republican Clay Fuller, and it's a sign that Democrats have a bit of optimism about Georgia in a midterm election. Senator John Ossoff also running in that state, a Democrat who won back in 2021. But you see that President Trump's candidate won in a crowded primary, and that there's a lot of debate right now in the GOP, but at the end of the day, having his hand on the scale, it matters.
You know, listen, I think the war in Iran is not helping him. You know, even his base is divided on that. And the latest poll shows most Americans don't support this war. I know you talked to the president recently. What did he have to say about that? And what are Republicans saying about it to you?
There might be grumbles behind the scenes, Gail, but when he was with congressional Republicans in recent days, they were giving him a standing ovation.
But they always do, though, don't they?
So far, and that could end at some point, but not anytime soon, based on my reporting. And you see in the president's conversation with me in recent weeks, and you see in his conversation with Republicans a lot of confidence that, yes, people are concerned about the economy. The Democrats are running on affordability. There's, of course, concern about a war in the Middle East against Iran. But at the same time, he has such a grip over the GOP going back 10 plus years now. There's no real opposition to him in a formidable way.
And he's still very popular with his base. That has not changed.
Some of the people in the base are non-interventionists. They don't love to see the U.S. military going into Iran. Think about even his own vice president, J.D. Vance.
It's also important to remember that his base is a bunch of bitches that just do whatever he says. So they don't really have principles. Otherwise, they would be against this because he ran on not doing this. J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, they all said, like, if Kamala wins, we're going to go to war with Iran. He said it about Obama. He said it about Biden. He always was saying that if this person wins, we're going to go to war with Iran. And we never did, but he did.
Firm supporter of President Trump, but not exactly someone who would be advocating for this kind of military intervention. But he's still on the same team. He's still sticking with President Trump.
Now in Kentucky, the president has backed the primary challenger of one of his staunchest critics, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie. What is the message do you think that the president is sending ahead of those midterms?
So this is a race we're really watching because in Georgia, it was Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, very conservative. You wouldn't be surprised to see his candidate do pretty well there. But Thomas Massie has his own independent conservative reputation in Kentucky, and he's gone against, we've been following it, President Trump on the Epstein files. He's been opposed to President Trump and how he's handled the war with Iran. So if President Trump can topple someone who's a real high-profile critic, that'll be a sign to a lot of other Republicans, don't mess with the president. But if Massie survives this primary, maybe some more Republicans will start to say, you know what?
That's a good point, Cranberry. I'm sorry. I apologize to the MAGA folks. It's true. When Trump said that, he didn't know that he was going to be exposed and be covering up for pedophiles all over the world. He didn't know he would have that hanging over his head, where he would have to choose to go to war with Iran so that people would stop talking about that.
But I'll be a little bit more independent, too. I won't pay such a political cost.
We'll be watching. Bob, thank you very much, as always.
When did Trump say he was going to bomb Iran, Angus, on the campaign trail? When did he say that? All right, moving on here. Let's actually talk a little bit about Epstein because James Comer has been forced to admit something, and he's careful with this, and Fox News is careful with this, and they're not going to make the natural leap here, but they are now being forced to admit that the first Trump administration actively covered up investigations into Jeffrey Epstein.
Sounds pretty sick if what's been said about it's true.
Now, this is his New Mexico ranch called the Zorro Ranch that, of course, the federal government, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, they haven't done a goddamn thing. They have opened 0 investigations. Other countries are opening investigations, and states now, like New Mexico, are opening investigations. But Pam Bondi, who the fuck knows what Pam Bondi's even doing? They haven't opened up an investigation into a single allegation. Even all the people that Republicans hate, like they're not going to investigate Bill Clinton. They're not going to go after. They're not going to investigate Bill Gates. They're not going to go after Reid Hoffman. None of them. Why is our Department of Justice not investigating anything at all? Remember, Congress can hold these hearings all they want, but they can't bring charges. It's good. I'm glad that it's being exposed, but every time they expose something, the DOJ sits on their hands. They haven't done a goddamn thing. And the last time this was in the news, the Trump administration was in office, and they covered this shit up.
What are you hearing? Well, I'm glad that the New Mexico authorities are going there and searching that property. I know that if no one searches the property, whenever this investigation is finally concluded, people are always going to have questions about whether or not there were deaths there, whether or not there were mysterious surgeries and things like that happening on the ranch. I don't know, but I do know this. The federal government asked New Mexico to stop their investigation, I believe back in 2019.
Whoops. What year was that? Nadia, thank you very much. What year did he say there? Is that 2019? Who was president in 2019? Who was the attorney general in 2019? The attorney general at the time, did his dad perhaps have any connections to Epstein? Do you have any connections to maybe the school Epstein taught at? Nah, probably not, right? For sure not.
Of that ranch. So
imagine chanting Trump right now when we're talking about your administration covering up investigation into Epstein, and this is the time you decided to chant Trump.
There's just so many questions about how the government failed the victims and how
The who? The government. Who, though? Who failed? Would that have been Bill Barr? That have been the Trump administration? How come you're saying the government? Because obviously it's not you. You can't bring charges. Members of the people that you work with can't bring charges. Obviously it's not the courts. They can't bring their own charges. Who is it? New Mexico tried to investigate, and the federal government came in and killed it. Who was the feds there? That was Bill Barr. If just know that if this had happened in 2022, what James Comer would be saying right now is the Biden administration covered it up. But when it's the Trump administration, now it's the totality of the government that's covering this up.
Government failed in trying to prosecute Epstein sooner. I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense. Everyone has conspiracy theories on, how Epstein was able to get away with it. Was it because he had, powerful friends? Yeah. Was it because he was an agent? No, we don't know, but we're going to find out. And I'm glad that they're on the ground now in New Mexico searching that property.
How come you're not asking Pam Bondi to investigate, though? Why are there no calls outside of like Thomas Massie, Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert for the DOJ to investigate this? How come, James Comer, are you not criticizing the DOJ? You don't have to say Trump. It's fine. We know you can't say that. But you know who's not doing their job right now. It's not you. You guys are actually kind of doing your job right now. James Comer's subpoenaing people. I mean, not necessarily the right people, in my opinion. Should be subpoenaing more people. They didn't show up to depose Les Wexner. But it's not you. It's Pam Bondi and Kash Patel who are doing nothing. Why are they so afraid to criticize Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, do you think?
Congressman, you said in 2019 the government told New Mexico authorities to stand down investigating the ranch. Do you know what branch of the government? It was the Department of Justice.
Why don't you know that, Jesse Waters? How the fuck would you not know that? The only people that could step in and tell the police in New Mexico to stand down would be the DOJ. How does Jesse Waters is a dipshit? That's a crazy question. Do you know what branch? And by the way, did he answer the question? Did Comer answer this question accurately here?
Told New Mexico authorities to stand down investigating the wrench. Do you know what branch of the government?
It was the Department of Justice, I believe. And
Okay, there's 3 branches of the government: the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. The DOJ is not a branch of the government. So what branch was that? MAGA, here's your opportunity. What branch of the government, if you were going to ask or answer Jesse Waters' question accurately, what would be the correct answer? What branch of the government shut it down? You guys got this. I believe in you. You got this. Come on, got this. Come on, puppies. That'd be HUD? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the executive branch. Who was the head of the executive branch at that time? Oh, that was Trump? Oh, that's why we're not saying executive branch. That's why you didn't answer that question accurately there, James Comer?
And I believe it was because they I believe it perhaps was the Southern District of New York, because they had taken over the investigation at that point. So.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Let me look that up. I don't think that's true. I thought it came directly. But he's been pretty accurate about everything else he said when he's not avoiding questions, so it could be. Yeah, so it was the U.S. Attorney's Office and prosecutors from Southern District. Okay, perfect.
Again, these are questions that we have. We want to get the answers, but I will say publicly, I'm glad that the New Mexico authorities are on the ground searching that property. I don't know if there's anything there. I don't think anybody knows, but I do know this, Jesse. It's probably never been searched before very thoroughly.
That's crazy.
The house probably has, but the property hasn't.
There we go. Your paying channel viewer said judicial. No.
Sounds pretty sick.
Who said judicial branch? Some of those could be gifted subs, by the way. So people that are here regularly, it could look like they're paying, but it's a gifted sub. But somebody said legislative. Oh, Arizona cheated. Proof came out 2 days ago. JSEX, what's the proof? Oh, JSEX is about to get a mute again. JSEX, just briefly explain what the proof is that Arizona cheated. You're talking about Maricopa County. And while we pull up this next one, here is once again. Our government sitting on their hands, and the UK actually doing something about this. These folks are now testifying in the UK, but have to go to the news here in America in order to get their story off.
So let's just stick to some facts. So when he went to South Africa, to Cape Town,
Epstein, that is, for his modeling recruiting,
Jeffrey set up like a modeling. Cape Town's a big modeling market where girls travel to work. I did. Right after high school, 1998. In 2003, I went there for 6 months and I worked as a model there. You do magazines and catalogs and TV commercials, and you really build your book so that you're worth more when you come back to New York to work as a model. So Epstein, as a fact, set up with his secretaries and his assistants, older assistants that were there, modeling casting, where girls would show up and, if he liked a particular one, he got their information, and then later on he flew them from Cape Town to New York. So, and I know some girls that were involved in that, who were abused on that trip. So let's just say this is a fact that happened. How much do those other men know what was going on? Did he do that in secrecy? And the other men don't really know what's going on around him. So I just find it, my whole point is, I just find it odd that anyone would say, oh, I have no idea what he was doing. Yeah. When this was he didn't mention the casting. He didn't mention the beautiful young girls that he was meeting there, who later were shipped from Cape Town to New York City, shipped to the island, shipped to different places, you know? So this is just the way that he operated.
Sex trafficking 101.
Basically.
Internationally right there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That is sex trafficking. You put someone on a plane and ship them somewhere else, and then...
Will Pam Bondi talk to her? No. Is Pam Bondi opening an investigation? Nope. Just sitting on our hands. We have to just watch it on on YouTube channels. Why is this administration not bringing any charges, do you think? Republicans, do you have an answer? Because it's, for us, it seems like they're covering it up. I can't really come up with like another reason. Could you give me a better explanation for why they're not opening any investigations? For why Pam Bondi won't meet with any of these victims? Any ideas? All are involved? Sure. Oh, you mean at the Department of Justice, like Pam Bondi? You think Pam Bondi's involved? You don't think it couldn't possibly? Because I haven't seen Kash Patel in those documents, really. I don't even know if I've seen Pam Bondi in those documents. Seems like the one that's in the documents a lot is their boss. Doesn't seem like they're necessarily involved. Probably not, though. It's probably not. Probably not. It's probably just these are all made up stories or something. All right, and then here's 3 more survivors who have to be flown to the UK to meet with MPs in the UK. I think was this yesterday or today? This was today. Again, the UK will do something about it. Somebody mentioned Germany as well. Not us, though. Pam Bondi's just sitting on her hands.
How important do you think it is that UK parliamentarians are taking the abuse that you suffered, all 3 of you, and perhaps thousands of others, seriously?
We really appreciate them taking this seriously. We want accountability, we want transparency, and we would really love it if they would put pressure on the U.S. and to be able to have Peter Mountbatten, Windsor.
Peter Mandelson.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, yes.
Peter
They've both got
Mandelson.
M's in their surname, so it's Peter Mandelson and Andrew Mountbatten,
Exactly.
Windsor. You
Both
want
of the
them
men.
to go over to the States, don't you?
Exactly. Yes, it would be nice if they would go and tell us exactly what they know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swami, that's a good point. The excuse, Democrats are in the files doesn't mean anything. Nobody's sticking up for Democrats or shielding them. If it is Democrats, then why isn't Pam Bondi investigating Democrats? Why isn't she investigating Les Wexner? Why isn't she investigating Reid Hoffman? Why isn't she investigating Bill Gates? Why isn't she investigating the Clintons? She's literally not investigating anybody. Oh, J-Sex, J-Sex, 5-minute mute. I told you had to answer the question about the evidence in Arizona. You didn't give any. That's another 5 minutes for you there, J-Sex. Don't think you can just pretend. You can just ignore it and it'll go away. It's another 5 for you. Actually, 24 hours. J-Sex, we'll see you tomorrow.
Liz, do you feel that over in the States, the parliamentarians are not doing enough?
I think that we are definitely frustrated by a lack of any motivation to really seek justice in this case. I think that we're seeing a lot of fanfare in the release of these files, and it's kind of like, well, here they are. They're
Who is? Nicholas, who's under investigation? Which of those people that I just mentioned has the DOJ opened an investigation into? I said Reid Hoffman. I said the Clintons. I said Les Wexner. I said Bill Gates. Which one of those people is under investigation? Are you unaware that, I think what you're confused by is that they're being hauled in front of Congress. Congress doesn't get to investigate them. These are just hearings. Congress can't charge them with anything. No, they're okay. Who charged them? When did they open an investigation into Les Wexner? Did Pam Bondi announce that? Because last I saw, yeah, thank you, George. Last I saw, Todd Blanche said we're not investigating anybody. We're done. We've released the files. We're not doing this anymore. There's no open investigations. You're confused because Congress is questioning them. But like, again, 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislative branch is not responsible for investigations. They have no power.
Out there for everyone to see.
She don't have to. Yeah, she do. She do. If you're going to say that there is an open investigation, you would need some evidence that there's an open investigation.
Our government keeps telling us basically that there's nothing to see here, and that's just not true. Every piece of information I've seen in the files has some sort of investigative lead, and so we really just don't understand why they're not following those leads.
I mean, Danielle, here in the UK, former Prince Andrew, former Cabinet Minister Peter Mandelson have both been disgraced. They've lost their jobs, being investigated by the police because of what was released in those files. We've seen the same thing happening in countries around the world. The US Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said she wasn't going to release the files because she said there was nothing to see. And what we've seen has been staggering and globally significant.
Yes, and I just appreciate that, you know, the UK does seem to be setting.
Well, okay, let's talk about that then. Because you say, Pat, that she don't have to. Why would they tell anyone? Well, how come all of the people, all of the victims say that they have contacted her and she won't respond? If they're going to investigate crimes, wouldn't they talk to the victims? What kind of investigation involves investigating crimes against the victims where you don't talk to the victims? What would they be investigating then? You guys are now, you're at the stage of denial where you're making shit up to avoid reality, and it's getting a little pathetic. Don, thank you for joining the Dollar Train. I appreciate that. We got about 45 minutes left, so if you want, it looks like we'll knock out that gift goal, no problem. So thank you guys so much.
The standard, and the rest of the world does seem to be following suit, except for the U.S. And so there's been a lot of whiplash with Pam Bondi. You know, she said she had the files, and then she said that the files didn't exist, or that they did exist, and they were on her desk, and then we didn't see them for quite some time. And then when we did see them, the redactions were protecting all the wrong people. Andrew's name was originally redacted, and Virginia Giuffre's name was there for everybody to see. And so I'm not sure why we are not seeing the level of accountability that we need to, but it's why we desperately need investigations into what is in the files right now.
It's crazy to watch Republicans like they are happening, but they're not going to tell us. We just know it. We just know that there's definitely investigations for sure. I'm going to talk about the economy real quick, but before we do that, I just want to show this hero one more time as a constant reminder that when you look at the problems in America and economically, when we talk about affordability, the biggest problem in America is that we are in a rigged system where everything benefits the rich. And at some point, we've got to do something about that. And we're going to need some of you dumbass Republicans to do a little bit of research at some point, or just understand basic economics so we can get this done.
Yeah, there's still people out in doorways looking for shelter, and I think a lot of people think this is why we shouldn't allow hedge funds to own residential property.
And so what we were talking about earlier, too, is a little bit of the nostalgia aspect, right?
Yeah.
How this feels kind of like back in the 90s when we were growing up.
Yeah, like we were saying, it was much more snow, colder winters. And again, private equity didn't own so much of the housing stock in America.
Thank you so much.
And NBC just cuts away. No, those are our advertisers. We can't talk about private equity. We can't talk about how that's going to destroy our economy here relatively soon. This is let's see, news coming out now finally, which is great. Ben Yoho, who is the husband of Tricia McLaughlin, who was awarded that $143 million DHS contract to produce ads, looks like is now being subpoenaed by the United States Senate, and they're calling for a criminal referral, or they're going to, looks like, submit a criminal referral here. This is Senator Benjamin Yoho. I just liked the letter. I wanted to read the letter. The strategy group publicly confirmed that it is subcontracted with Safe America LLC to help produce an advertising campaign for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security worth $143 million. The circumstances surrounding the awarding of this lucrative no-bid contract that ultimately benefited a business with long-standing personal and business ties to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem raise a number of important questions. Accordingly, we write to request information and records regarding the strategy group's agreement with Safe America Media. According to public reporting, the strategy group and you yourself have a long relationship with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and her chief advisor and boy toy Corey Lewandowski. Secretary Noem confirmed at a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee on March 3rd, 2026, that your firm managed the ad campaigns for her 2022 gubernatorial campaign. Mr. Lewandowski reportedly served as the intermediary that facilitated your company's work on that campaign. In 2023, you attended then Governor Noem's inauguration and sat next to Mr. Lewandowski. Between 2023 to 2024, the strategy group was awarded an $8.5 million contract to produce a series of commercials starring then Governor Noem pretending to do various jobs. I like the snark. According to public reporting, Mr. Lewandowski also hired you to provide services for the press campaign to promote Noem's memoir in 2024. Most recently, the strategy group received a subcontract from Safe America Media to help produce a DHS ad campaign while your wife, Trish McLaughlin, served as the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security for Public Affairs. And this week, Secretary Noem testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that she knows both you and your firm. Despite your wife's recent social media statement that neither you nor the strategy group have ever had a contract with DHS, the strategy group confirmed this week that it did receive a subcontract to work on the no-bid campaign awarded to Safe America Media, and that it was paid $226,000 to total for 5 film shoots, 45 produced video advertisements, and 6 produced radio advertisements. So obviously, McLaughlin lied. Should she still have a job? It's not clear why Safe America Media, a company that was incorporated 7 days before it received the $143 million contract, was awarded such a large sum on an uncompetitive basis to perform work it has no proven record of undertaking. Safe America Media is registered to the personal address of Mike McElwain, a longtime Republican political operative. In order to better understand the relationships between the strategy group, Safe America Media, and DHS political leadership, and to better understand how $143 million in taxpayer dollars were spent, we request the following statements by March 13th, 2026. We'll see. So we need to see a copy of their agreement and any invoices to Safe Media. But I enjoyed the snark there. The corruption out of this administration knows absolutely no bounds. And by the way, moving on through the economy, it's something happened under this administration that has never happened ever before. Not to this level. What you'll see here, these are the change in non-farm payrolls. Every month, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics puts out their jobs reports. And every month, except for September and January, the numbers were positive. And every single month, for the first time in American history, 13 straight months, when we got the actual job numbers in, they were all revised down. You can see a massive revision in January of 24 from 350,000 down to about 170, then 260,000 down to about 200,000. Every single month, the Trump administration overstated the amount of jobs. For 13 straight months. Now, these are Biden and Trump numbers, okay? Every single month since here. Boop, 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 boop. Now, this is a problem that we've actually had for a long time. For whatever reason, reporting, fraud, politics. The Biden administration did this too. But the Biden administration was off by like a multiple of 4. The Trump administration has been off by a multiple of 8. And what has that led us to? That has led us to a total net number of jobs. How many jobs do you think the Trump administration, non-farm payroll jobs, have been created under the Trump administration? Just off the top of your head, MAGA. This chart is seasonal workers and college kids. Don't say dumb fucking shit. No, it's not. It's literally not. You can see it. It's cited at the bottom. These are non-farm payrolls. How many jobs have been created? One job, good guess. 10. Where's our MAGA folks guessing? $710,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Negative 710,000. We've lost 710,000 jobs since the beginning of the Trump administration. Non-farm. You guys win? Is this winning? Yeah, dude, this is what we wanted. Even at Fox, even at Fox News, like they're struggling. Here's Fox News, Maria Bartiromo on with Kelly Loeffler, who gives the lamest explanation for these awful jobs you'll ever see. She's the Small Business Administration administrator.
More to come.
Yeah, so were you worried about those recent jobs numbers that we saw where we were looking at a below expectation situation? Does that turn around quickly, Kelly?
Look, Maria, that was one data point that had a number of extraneous factors in it. What we see on the ground is strong demand for a skilled workforce, and that's
minus 710,000 jobs is what they see on the ground. The jobs number they're referring to is February, which was bad, but they're negative. If there's all this need and there's all this demand for these jobs, why is unemployment going up and we're losing jobs? This is goddamn. Wouldn't it be nice to be a Republican politician and know that you can show up and lie blatantly every single day and it will not change your support one goddamn bit with your base?
of extraneous factors in it. What we see on the ground is strong demand for a skilled workforce, and that's what we're working with small businesses on. They have millions of jobs open. This is what our mandate is now, is to help create the skilled workforce of the future, because those jobs are out there, as Jay said, and we
Then why aren't people getting them? Why is unemployment going up if those jobs are just out there?
need to make sure that our young people are ready to take those jobs on.
Absolutely. Really important work that you're both doing. We so appreciate.
More to come.
Yeah.
See, well, you see the Republicans in the chat. You're lying. We don't believe anything bad ever. Let's talk about oil. Let's talk about what happened yesterday. It's actually pretty gross. Here's Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who again is an oil executive. He's the energy secretary, but he's just a lobbyist for the oil companies, and he works for them. He doesn't give a fuck about you. And he's been. We're talking about the obviously the spike in oil prices or gas prices since we invaded Iran for, once again, no fucking reason that anybody can tell us. But here's our favorite broadcaster in Colorado, Kyle Clark, with Energy Secretary Chris Wright.
Chris Wright joined President Trump's cabinet from Colorado, promising to make an impact, and he sure made one today when his false claim calmed oil prices. Wright claimed the U.S. military had escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. That's the crucial trade route shut down by the war on Iran. This would have been a breakthrough and a potential signal of the end of the war, but...
Yeah, so he tweeted that out, and all of a sudden, the price of oil dropped, and the markets responded, and they went up. Because that's what kind of power you have when you're the energy secretary. You tweet out good news, and the price goes down.
It hadn't happened.
Oh.
In a now deleted social media post, Wright had said this morning, quote, the U.S. Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing to global markets. Well, that was apparently news to your U.S. Navy.
Whoops.
The White House came out to say the U.S. had not escorted any ships through the strait at this time. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said they would look at a range of options if asked to do so. Wright's been trying to calm down global markets since the war began. During a trip to Colorado yesterday, he said the U.S. is going to take aggressive steps to get oil shipments through that strait.
We are having restrictions of flow of energy.
He lied. Why? Amber said Trump men concealed the true extent of Iran strikes on a base in Kuwait. Dozens of service members suffered severe injuries, and 30 remain in the hospital. And military investigation found U.S. at fault for the strike on the girls' elementary school. Yeah.
energy through the street.
Yeah, why would he lie? I don't know why anybody in this administration would continue to lie all the time. The easy answer is this. They lie because they know that that's all MAGA will remember. MAGA will never accept a fact check. They will always accept the first thing that they say. So they can come out and lie. And even if they correct it later on, MAGA, they have no interest in going and fact checking that. They will continue to believe a lie that the Trump administration has already said was a lie. In this case, that was a lie.
Straits of Hormuz right now. We announced that we will step into the insurance market and insure tankers to go through. A large oil tanker went through about 36 hours ago. I think you will see more of those coming. We will ultimately use the U.S. military to escort tankers out.
CNBC reports U.S. crude oil markets closed down nearly 12% today following Wright's retracted claim of military escorts through the strait. The Department of Energy said the post was incorrectly captioned by a staffer.
Okay, but see, we just heard him say it. This is how pathetic the administration is. They're blaming an unnamed staffer. I'm sorry, was that not Chris Wright?
We will ultimately use the U.S. military to escort
That's
tankers
not Chris Wright?
out.
I thought that was Chris Wright, not an unnamed staffer. Let's talk. Get over to Senator Roger Marshall, and here's the talking point that just I'm going to need some sense made out of this. Was our freedom in jeopardy when it came to Iran? Did Iran attack us? If somebody just says something like "death to America," does that mean that we're actually in jeopardy? Were we really in jeopardy? And if we were, could somebody in the government explain it to us? Because they keep telling us missiles, but they didn't have any missiles that could reach us.
Right. I mean, I just asked because you described it as a hiccup, the gas prices and the change in the oil market that we're seeing. I mean, if they're lifting sanctions on Russia, clearly they're worried it could last longer than just a brief period, don't you think?
I don't, Caitlin. I think you're really reaching here. I think just as quickly as we took those sanctions away, we can put them back on. So I think, again, it's one day at a time. You live in this little ivory tower here. I don't think that you're
a member of Congress. All of us are hurting right now. All of us are paying more at the pump right now. And you guys are telling us it's fine. Don't talk about ivory towers when you're a member of Congress, please.
We're dealing with the real world that the President Trump has. We don't know when the war is going to be over. We don't know when the sanctions should go back on. But I think the president on a day-to-day basis
But how's
is
it
trying
an
to do what
ivory
he thinks
tower?
is best for Americans.
I'm asking you about gas prices that Americans are paying that are extremely high and having wild swings, in part because of the war with Iran that the president started.
Right. So again, freedom is not free. Americans are.
I'm sorry. Did we not have freedom? The cost of freedom is that gas needs to go up while we attack a country that was no threat to us? This war doesn't make any sense.
We're going to have to make some sacrifices, but we're operating from a point of strength. Isn't it great that compared to when I was growing up in the 70s, we were so dependent upon Middle East oil, but now we
still are
the largest producer of oil in the world. But
we're still dependent on Middle East oil. That if what he was saying were true, then our gas prices wouldn't be skyrocketing right now. If we didn't need that oil, then why the fuck would it matter if the oil tankers are being blown up? This doesn't make sense. It's so different than it was in the 70s. Is it? Seems like the same. Seems like when something happens over there, our gas prices go up. If we're not dependent on them, then our prices shouldn't be going up, right?
Second biggest exporter of oil in the world. So we're not going to be shut out economically from this. We at least have the oil here. Yes, it's a worldwide commodity, but this is one of the prices of war. Are we willing to stand here for 47 years and let Iran beat the heck out of Americans and kill?
How did they beat the heck out of Americans?
Thousands of Americans, or
we killed thousands of Americans where? When we sent them into 2 dumb fuck wars? Yeah, when we attacked them and then they attacked us back? This is so stupid.
Be willing to stand up and say enough of this.
It's pathetic because the thing is all of us that are here, Iran poses no danger to us, none. The only time any of us are in danger from Iran is if we're serving in the armed forces and we're over in the Middle East. And then you've got to say what are we doing there? because the Iraq war wasn't justified. The invasion of Afghanistan obviously wasn't either. That was stupid. We invaded Afghanistan and stayed there forever to find Osama bin Laden, who was in Pakistan. And then we found him in Pakistan, and we're like, well, I might as well fucking stay in Afghanistan for another 10 years, 15 years. Why the hell not? Remember, that's why we were there. We were there to get bin Laden. He was in Pakistan. And that's why Americans were sacrificed for that. And now it's like, oh, we have to kill the Iranians now because they killed us when we invaded their allies. Maybe we don't invade for a while. Maybe we cool it on invading. If we didn't bomb Iran, we would all still be safe, and none of the 8 service members who have lost their lives would have lost their lives. None of the people who now have traumatic brain injuries would have that. We wouldn't have hundreds, I think maybe thousands of children dead at this point. You wouldn't have murdered innocent civilians. We wouldn't have a gas crisis. We wouldn't have desalination plants being blown up so that innocent people can't drink water and they'll just die of dehydration. We didn't need to do any of this stuff. We're just going to war for the fuck of it. But at least we have unlimited money and we're not struggling financially. So that's a good idea too. Just to confirm here, here's Rick Scott, another member of the Senate, confirming that what Chris Wright said was wrong. We are not using the U.S. military to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz.
Senator, if it were possible to do so safely at this point, why isn't the U.S. Navy...
Oh, sorry. Cookie said, congrats on 18 million views. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for getting us there. Alfredo said, the lying is unreal. U.S. media isn't calling it out. Yeah, the U.S. media is so cucky when it comes to war. Like, I don't know why they're pretending that any of this is justified or that it makes any fucking sense. I don't like that they play with kid gloves. I know that most media, honestly, is pushing back a little bit, but it's with kid gloves.
If it were possible to do so safely at this point, why isn't the U.S. Navy escorting ships through the strait?
I can't tell you the answer to that.
I can. Because the Iranians, despite us being told that their navy is destroyed, they can still shoot at these ships. They can shoot missiles at these ships, and they have lined the Strait of Hormuz with mines that can blow up these ships. That's why. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
But I think right now it's still a dangerous situation. It's going to take a while for us to get control over the Strait of Hormuz. The most important thing we can do right now, and our job right now, is we'd love to get gas prices back down. But the most important thing is destroy Iran's ability to, produce a nuclear weapon, destroy their military, their ballistic missile capability, and hopefully, right, we end up with a country that wants to work with.
If we hadn't have bombed them, we wouldn't have to be worried about tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz, though. So what the fuck are we fighting for? Now the excuse is to protect these ships that were in no danger until we started bombing Iran? What if we just didn't bomb Iran? So now what we're fighting for is ships being bombed that wouldn't be bombed if we didn't do what we did. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant administration here.
With the world community and not be constantly destroying through all their proxies. So, I mean, we all want gas prices to come down. Nobody wants gas prices higher. This president doesn't want gas prices higher. But we have to be realistic.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't go to war.
If you believe that Iran was going to use nuclear weapons against us, we had no choice but to do this. And there are problems short term.
There's so many problems. But the biggest one is that our president is a dipshit and everybody listens to what he says and there's no breaks. Nobody's willing to be like, hey, dude, maybe we don't just start a fucking war for no reason. Bernadette said towards the goal. Appreciate you. Thank you very much, Bernadette. All right. Let's move here to Ashley Moody. I mean, this is hard. I will say I don't have any empathy or sympathy for them, but it is a very difficult job being a Republican right now who you have to kiss Donald Trump's ass. This is a difficult job because you got to go out there and you got to lie through your teeth and you have to try and do it convincingly. And here's a Republican Congresswoman from Florida, Ashley Moody.
And I think President Trump and everyone working with him would say they are trying to do everything they can to avoid armed conflict. They want to make sure they're
Except the part where we're bombing them. Except that. Like, everything they could do to avoid armed conflict would be no conflict, and then we wouldn't have this problem. Stacy said, why does Rick Scott look like Slender Man? Ty said, but wouldn't it have the Trumpstein file distraction? Yeah, good point.
protecting our homeland, they're protecting Americans, they're protecting American interests, they're protecting Americans that may be abroad. And they have done everything they can think of to avoid this conflict. Now, you can't put your head in the sand and avoid...
Except for bombing them for no reason. Other than that, except for ripping up the Iranian nuclear agreement, except for bombing them last year as well. They've done everything they can to escalate this.
Threats. And what you heard there was the Secretary of War saying, we are being precise. We are not holding back. We are being precise. They want to take out where they're manufacturing and launching missiles, where they may be threatening Americans or American interests. And I believe that they have reported that they have come so far and they're well ahead.
Oh, sorry, Sarah Beth. I see it now. Sorry, I missed that one. Sarah Beth, thank you. We still have Venmo. Amy, I read yours a minute ago. I was just late, so you probably missed it. I did just read yours a minute ago. Sorry, that's my bad.
Of where they thought they would be at this point. So that, I believe, should be heartening to every American that wants to ensure that, number one, we're doing everything that we can do to ensure that we're avoiding armed conflict where we can, but that we're not backing down from actual threats.
What's the actual threat? We still don't have an answer for that. Trump said it's his feelings.
Either to our home.
Then he said it was Kushner and Hegseth's fault. But no, they haven't said what the threat is.
Homeland or Americans abroad. And this is so important, and I think that's what people will key in on.
I'd love for you guys to explain to us why it's important, because it doesn't seem very important to us. Mike Johnson was asked, well, let me skip that because we're running out of time, I think. All right. So then yesterday, there was a intelligence briefing. And as you can see, the Republicans came out of there and just said, there was a threat, we have to fight, and they don't tell us what the threat is. And Democrats obviously have a little bit different message, which isn't just stroking the dangly balls of Donald Trump. And pretty alarming reactions from Democrats. And you expect them to have two different reactions. They're all political. But when you combine the fact that Republicans don't have an answer, then it adds credibility to what the Democrats are saying here when the Democrats are like, there's no answer. If nobody is giving you a reason for this war, if nobody can point to the imminent threat, then it's safe to assume that what these Democrats here are saying is probably true, because the Republicans are offering no counter narrative.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions.
Okay, great. Hey, I'm Melly. What are the clear answers? What was the imminent threat? While this is playing, fair enough. If I missed it, can you explain to me what the imminent threat was then? Since I missed it.
Have been unanswered. And I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran.
Johnny Bones, I don't know. So tell me what the imminent threat is. How come you guys, you know that building nuclear bombs for an imminent threat? No, they weren't. There's no evidence that they were building nuclear weapons. No. But if that's the case, then shouldn't we also be bombing Israel?
To accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else.
No, Haley, you got to answer my question. You said there's an imminent threat. And this is where we get to the muting section of this, when you guys are fucking cowards. You said there's an imminent threat. I asked you what the imminent threat is, and you said, since you're so smart, explain the applications of 60% and above uranium enrichment. No. What's the imminent threat? Why are you asking me a question right now? How come every time I ask you guys a question, you can't answer it, and you just bombard me with more questions? I'm asking. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Isn't that great? There's a lot of people watching right now. That would be great. You guys have your opportunity to explain to all us dumbass Democrats what the imminent threat is. But then I ask you for it, and you're just like, oh, let me ask you a question instead. You don't know either, and it's being exposed time and time again. We've done this, how many days this war's been going on? I've asked this question every fucking day. And not once have we gotten an answer. And it should alarm you, if you were honest with yourself at all, that you don't have an answer, that you're just dick riding and cheerleading this administration no matter what the fuck they do. You refuse to learn from history. You know who else had weapons of mass destruction? Iraq. Yeah, how'd that go? Did they have any? No, they didn't have any, did they? Who told us they had that? Oh, Netanyahu? Oh, okay, cool.
Specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of this war, a war of choice made by this president, not chosen by the American people, with potentially huge consequences to American lives.
By the way, there are uses for 60% uranium. You could use it for space travel. You could use it for breeder reactors, which are kind of a cool technology that I didn't know much about until this war started, admittedly. But a breeder reactor, basically, like it creates more energy than it consumes, so it's regenerative in that way. Like whatever you put in, you're getting more out of. And they have those in Iran. Well, you know what you can't use 60% uranium for? A nuclear weapon. And you know what they didn't have? The components for a nuclear weapon that we've found anywhere. So there are uses for that. But again, what's the imminent threat? Yes, also for nuclear power. Yeah, use it for nuclear power. Those are the you could use the Navy for like propulsion, like compact propulsion. For Navy, I think they've talked about it. I don't know if they have a space program or not. I know who was. I think it was J.D. Vance that was like, "What are they trying to go to the moon?" I think he said they have a space program. I'm not sure if that's true. I've never fact checked that, but you can use it. But what's the imminent threat? All right. Let's go here to Nicole Wallace with Chris Murphy now. Coming out of the same meeting, and this will make you laugh. You'll like this one. It's either this one or the next one.
Is the reason, if the nuclear program isn't the reason, as poor Ted Cruz? I never thought I'd put those three words together.
That's a good point, Penny. And also, Trump said he obliterated their nuclear facilities, so that's confusing too, because those are supposed to be obliterated. That's what they told us. And then the same people, by the way, if you remember, those that have been here, it's the same people here when we said, intelligence says that it wasn't obliterated. And then you're like, yeah, right, dude, it was totally obliterated. Those same people now are like, no, it wasn't obliterated. Oh, were we right? Were we right there? Did Trump lie then? Or did they like have a miracle in Iran where they had their entire nuclear program obliterated and then they rebuilt it in like 7 months? Which one was it? Was it less than 7 months? I don't remember what month that was. I thought it was in the summer sometime, wasn't it?
Is over there talking about nukes, and we know that the
Iran does have a space program. Okay, thank you.
Intelligence did not suggest that an attack was imminent from Iran. What is left? Why are we at war with Iran?
Great question. Yeah, great question. I mean, the simplest explanation, might be the one that they gave 24 hours in, that they've kind of tried to backtrack since then, which is that Israel made us do it. That Bibi decided on this timeline. Netanyahu decided he wanted to attack. And
Oh, who said that? I learned about this recently. Who said that? You don't get more energy than you put in. What school did you go to? You're listening to Trump too much. Impossible. Wrong. So it's called a breeder reactor. Let me pull this up because I can't remember what it create. You put in, I think, uranium, and it brings out. Yeah. So it's designed to produce more fissile material, which is nuclear fuel, than it consumes, effectively generating its own fuel during operation. By using fast neutrons to convert fertile materials like uranium-238 into plutonium-239, these reactors can increase fuel efficiency by orders of magnitude compared to conventional reactors. You're welcome. I learned it a couple days ago, so I didn't go to school to learn that. It's just the internet's free.
he convinced Trump to join him by scaring Trump into believing that U.S. assets in the region would be at risk, and so Trump was better off just joining Netanyahu. I hope that isn't the full explanation, but you're right. As we are now hearing that the nuclear program is not part of their targeting campaign, as we're now more confident that even harder line leadership is taking hold, as the Strait of Hormuz is still being shut down, even as we get their Navy, what's left as the explanation? It might just be that Israel forced our hand. And how weak does that make the United States look? How weak are we if our allies can force us into wars of choice that are bad for U.S. national security?
I mean, the whole world is looking at this and saying, like, they're just doing the bidding of Netanyahu. That's how we look on the world stage. Jamar said, I burned my neighbor's house down. I was pretty sure they were going to burn mine down, so I got them first. Oh, well, that's fair. There was an imminent threat there, Jamar. Johnny, good to see you. I said, nothing important to say. That's all right. Sometimes I have nothing important to say, too. Okay, and then this from Murphy. This was the funny one. Same interview here.
The option of, they certainly have not taken the option of ground troops off the table, neither publicly nor privately. Now, every single briefing you have, you get a surprise. We got one just about 30 minutes ago when the Department of Defense told us that, in fact, their nuclear program and getting rid of it is not an objective of this war.
Oh.
Literally, in my other...
Uh-oh. Oh, where were you guys that said that we took them out for their nuclear program, but now they're saying that's not their objective? Uh-oh. You guys want to apologize for that one, MAGA? Were you guys just saying shit to try and defend it? But now they're saying that that's not why we're there? Uh-oh. Sky Fox says Trumpers can't name the imminent threat, just like they can't say what American culture is. Cue the what's a woman in the chat. I was thinking it's 100%. We've already seen it a bunch.
Ear, I'm listening to Ted
All right, let me
Cruz
go back here.
and getting rid of it is not an objective of this war. Literally in my other ear, I'm listening to Ted Cruz on another network explain why this military mission is so essential to destroy the nuclear program. I may have to walk over there and tell him that, in fact, the administration is now briefing Congress that getting rid of the nuclear program has nothing to do with this mission. But it speaks
So what was the imminent threat then?
to the incoherence. I can't really blame Ted, because every single hour, the objectives that they state publicly and privately for this war change.
They were about to attack, boss? Great. I wasn't talking to you about that, but what evidence do you have that they were about to attack Americans? Where does that come from?
So yes, every time we get a briefing, we learn something new, but we shouldn't be learning the objectives for this war. It should be the American people who are learning about why they're going to be paying thousands of dollars more every year for gas and for groceries, for everything else they buy, as this war grinds the global economy to a halt.
Yeah.
All right. Here is I think this one's Caroline Levitt. How much time do we have? About 10 minutes left. There's another just incoherent attempt to defend Donald Trump being a fucking idiot, and then again, not a lot of sympathy for Caroline Levitt, but it's a tough job to have to defend Donald Trump because she just has to flat out lie to people all the time. If you remember, Trump said that the school was hit by Iranians, and then they were like, wait, they don't have Tomahawk missiles. And he was like, oh, It's just what I was told. It's what I believe. And we are at the stage now where the defense for the president citing that Iran bombed their own school was he's allowed to have his own opinion.
On the Iranian school, why did President Trump say yesterday that Iran may have Tomahawk missiles when there are only 3 other U.S. allies plus the U.S. that have those missiles and therefore could...
Look, again, the President said yesterday he will accept the conclusion of this investigation by the Department of War. I know there's been a lot of speculation in the media about who may be responsible for this. We're not going to get ahead of the Department of War and the conclusion of that investigation. The President has a right to share his...
What do you mean we're not going to get ahead of it? You did get ahead of it. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't make the claim that Iran bombed the school, and then when somebody's like, why did you say that? If like we don't have evidence of that, and they're like, we're not going to get ahead of the investigation. We're going to wait and see what the investigation says. Excuse me? No, you did get ahead of it. That's what he's asking you about right now, is you getting ahead of the investigation, and it turns out that you were wrong. And that's the commander in chief. This isn't just like some dude on the radio. It's the guy that's supposed to know.
Opinions with the American public, but he has said he'll accept the conclusion of that investigation. And frankly,
how brave.
We're not going to be harassed by the New York Times, who's been putting out a lot of articles on this, making claims that have just not been verified by the Department of War.
Look, okay, but the claim was that they hit the school. That you guys made the claim. The New York Times is asking you why you made the claim, and you're accusing them of making unverified claims before the investigation? That's a bizarre thing to do. That is some top shelf gaslighting.
To quickly wrap up this investigation because the New York Times is calling on us to do so.
All right. Come on, minutes. Okay. Now, we ripped this guy to shreds earlier, but let's give him his flowers now. Here's Foghorn Leghorn.
Though you actually talked to NBC News last night about that strike on the girls' school, and you said it was terrible. We made a mistake. I'm just so sorry that it happened. Why did you feel like it was important to say that?
Because I think it's the truth. I mean, we're investigating, but I'm not going to hide behind that. I think it was a terrible, terrible mistake. The investigation may prove me wrong, I hope.
There's other layers to that mistake that we're not going to get to today, but the 3 buildings that were around the school that some people have said, like, oh, they shouldn't have built a school there. Those 3 buildings were evacuated weeks ago. They were empty. We gained nothing from bombing those buildings, and we got the benefit of killing some children, which is probably pretty cool for MAGA. They're like, hell yeah, get some kids. They were empty.
So the kids are still dead, but I think it was a horrible, horrible mistake. I wish it hadn't happened. I'm sorry it happened. Yeah, I can assure you it wasn't intentional. That's the sort of thing Russia does. We don't do that.
We do that.
But you know, I don't see any other possible explanation.
Why didn't they evacuate the school? Because they didn't know they were going to get bombed. That's kind of the point with these military strikes. You don't do military strikes and warn everybody. Why didn't they know? Nobody would die more if you always knew when the bomb was coming. What do you think people are like? They're like, a bomb's coming. They're like, that's fine. I'll stay here. Jesus Christ, that's the worst attempt at victim blaming I've ever seen.
And when you make a mistake, you ought to admit it. Most people understand no one's perfect, but I don't think our men and women who are fighting for us did it intentionally. I'll never believe that.
Fair enough. So speaking of the men and women that are fighting for us, I want...
All right. One more and then we'll get out of here. Actually, I may not want to do that. I'll pick this up tomorrow. We'll get out. We'll stop on that. I know we're a little short today, but I'm tired. All right, Jen, did I miss any messages? Let me check on my end too.
No, I think got them all.
Got them all? Okay. All right, everybody. Sorry for the short show today. We'll be back. I'll get plenty of sleep tomorrow or tonight and be back tomorrow. I'll give you some extra time. Well, actually, no, I got to pick up my daughter. A little extra time tomorrow. Until I see you tomorrow, thank you for joining us. Take care of yourselves. If you go outside and touch grass, get some sun. Be nice to each other. Turn off the news for a little bit if it's got you so down that you can't function. It sucks, but it's also important that you stay engaged and you take care of your own mental health. So please do that. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass, figure something out. I will see all of you tomorrow bright and early, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here wherever you're watching. Take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.